tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
There's three major things that has to be addressed in the Cayman Islands: cost of living, diversifying the economy, and self-sufficiency. And when I talk about self-sufficiency, I'm talking about our ability, our capacity to be able to take care of ourselves. Let's focus on agriculture, where all of us want to make sure that we're hoping for the best. We always have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Just imagine for a second if a hurricane was to come and sit between here and Florida, just like Hurricane Mitch did in 1998 in Honduras. What would happen? I would bet you the shelves would be empty, or at the minimum, very much depleted. That in itself should be able to identify to us that there is a major problem in terms of our capacity to feed ourselves here in the Cayman Islands. We have to solve that problem. And that's why if and when elected, I'm going to head out east and see if we can free up a lot of this locked land, open it up for opportunities for agriculture as well as other types of development. And when it comes to farming, whether it be livestock or plant life, I believe we can look beyond the borders of the Cayman Islands. What's preventing us from going to countries like Jamaica or to Honduras and actually owning or buying farms that are already functioning and operating and even exporting to other countries, making it Cayman Islands property? I believe that that's absolutely possible. In addition to that, creating opportunities for our local investors to be able to invest into those companies and other persons through their pensions accounts as well. To me, the opportunities are tremendous, and that's my vision.
Good morning, folks. How is everyone? My vision is if I didn't have to get up this morning and talk about a possible, I don't know what to call it. Is it a hostage situation? What the hell is going on in the Cayman Islands this morning? We have to break it down for you because it is a hot mess. And I do not use that term today lightly. Now, I know we say a lot of things are a hot mess, but boy, I tell you, ay. Wow. All right. Let me see here. So, good morning. Let me break it down to you guys. We have so much ground to cover this morning. I hope that you guys are well. Let me turn on my camera. There we go. I hear it sticking up just a little bit. All right, folks, let's get it. Good morning. We've got Anthony, the beautiful, handsome, ever so handsome Anthony is here. Miss Anne-Marie, thank you so much for logging in. We have Miss Bonnie, Richie Rich, eating some nice Italian breakfast desserts. I don't even know if they're really meant for breakfast, but hey, who can't pass up an Italian treat? Coffee, Morna, good morning. Gigi, thank you so much for logging on. Miss Donna, Miss Jasara, Miss Ruby is here watching from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We trust that you're keeping safe. Marcia Gay, thank you for tuning in. Kristen, so nice to see you, my friend. Barbara, Mr. Lester, Nilser, good morning. Louis is here. Yes, good morning to the entire CMR Massive. We stand in the truth. If we don't, we'll fall for the lies. Amen, my brother. Yes, Lester's asking, how is Detroit? Good morning to Elizabeth. Catherine, Charm is here. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Juliet, Marshall, Leanne, Irvelyn, Olivia. Hello, Cara. How you doing? Vanessa, everybody giving their shout outs. Ooh, we're going to talk about the Cubans this morning. I cannot believe it, folks. I mean, really? Siobhan, are you in shock at what is going on? Good morning, Elizabeth. Get your coffee. I got my tea. I got my water. And I have some ever so sweet cantaloupe. These are the sweetest cantaloupe that I've had in a really long time. They are delicious. Big shout out to all the grocery stores, including Hurley's. That's where I bought these from. And they always have nice fruit. So Richard, good morning. Good morning, Irvelyn. Hello. Good morning to Miss Julie. Memphis is here for it. Good morning to you. Duran is here. Yes, there is a child on board. Good morning, Miss Darlene. Mary has her coffee. Beautiful. Yvette is here for the conversation. Mike is also here. Rosie is here. Gustavo is here. And Miss Juanita. So let's start talking about this situation, right? Now, we did a couple live streams yesterday. And, oh, my apologies. Some of my WhatsApp folks are always waiting on me to actually send the link. So give me 1 second. I see your messages. Let me get them the CMR link so they can be locked and loaded. So give me 1 second here. So in case you guys don't know, we do have a WhatsApp news group. It's actually several groups because the groups are quite large now. And WhatsApp only allows you group sizes of so many. It's actually a notification list. So it's not really a group in the sense that no one sees who's in the group. So people are able to private message me to be able to, have discussions and stuff like that. But when I send out one message, everybody gets the message. And so just give me 1 quick second here now. I've sent that to everyone. And we got to talk about some politics today, of course. We're now 1 week out from the general election. And we do have some other things that we're going to be discussing, as well as Raul Nicholson Co. from West Bay South will be joining us as well. So we're into the home stretch, folks, of the next general election. Polls are going up here shortly. about how you guys are feeling in terms of who's going to win. And I'll give you some more details about those as soon as they are up and available. So let me just take a minute here to also put on the website that we are live, because some people do like to get the notification via the website as well. So we just try to cover all grounds. So you guys remember the Cubans? Thank you so much, Barbara. Barbara says the whole CMR crew's in the house for some tea. Yes, my dear child. I see someone commenting in Spanish. Hold on one second. Let me turn on my translator, child. One second. Let me just mute my mic, because I know the second I do this, it's going to give feedback. Hold on. Okay, so that message from Yadeli is saying, stop, so many transmissions, have 13 Cubans dying. All right, we're going to get into it, because I think there's obviously some confusion in terms of what is happening and what's going on. Okay. Yay. What a hot mess. All right. So, all right. So you guys will remember that some of these individuals are Cuban nationals. So let me just kind of back up in terms of where we are and what's going on. So some of them were protesting on the government steps. I think they started in January and it went into February. They said that they had gone over 30 days of protesting. And we even interviewed two ladies, you guys might remember this, on the program, who they weren't part of the most recent protest, but I think they had said that they had protested before. And they were trying to explain to us why they were protesting. And I really think that, I try to be a fair person. I mean, despite what people want to say, I really try to be fair to everybody. And I probably don't take much in the way of prisoners from anyone. It doesn't really matter to me, So sometimes people come to me with news and they'll be like, "Oh, Miss Sandy, I know this person's your family." And I'm like, that has no bearing on the situation whatsoever. I don't really care who they are. In the world of news, we report on everyone. Yes, Miss Charlene, we got some solid numbers today. We're actually up to 255 if we're including our YouTube viewers. And I suspect here this morning we'll probably be pushing close to 400 before you know it. But yes, so who's calling me? I don't even know who that is. Oh, honey child, I'm on air. You can't be calling me Jim Show. So anyway, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where oh gosh, people always seem to have an emergency right as I go live. And once I'm live, I'm live. So it's one of those things where they came on the show. We tried to understand their position and they tried to explain it to us. And that's, I thought that I gave them ample opportunity. I also did my best to try to get them to understand why Caymanians could be offended by their behavior. And, at the end of that interview, in case you guys missed it, I felt like those two young women understood. They were like, yeah, we see what the problem is. We're going to talk about that here again this morning, just in case you missed it. So this person is saying that they're in direct contact with the boat. Okay. Okay, well, you got to tell me what you want because I'm on air talking. So I can't exactly call you and have a conversation. So if you want to join the show, then certainly we want to have as much accurate information as possible. If you're just sending a tip, just send it. So yes, 272 people. Let's keep the numbers going here, folks. 274. All right. So I think that they kind of got it. And, you know, when we did subsequent interviews with Erica, now Erica is the Dominican lady who's married to the Cuban guy who has the baby. So they are 3 of the 13 people on board. When we spoke to Erica at the steps of the glass house, and she said, you know, what was going on, why they were protesting. It looks like they're live again. Let me just see what's going on here, folks. Hold on one second. So Mr. Javier is, it says he was live. That's old news then. Well, if he's not live now, that ain't gonna help me. So he was live 45 minutes ago. All right. So, okay. So, yeah, I'm not sure this person's telling me anything new. All right. So here's the situation, folks. She said basically, and I think we went over this. She's here. She's married to this guy. Remember, she was the person who went missing off of the cruise ship. She came on the program. I think we talked about her situation a little bit. She didn't really want to go into too many details of what had happened to her, why she left that cruise ship and didn't return. In any event, she applied for political asylum. Her husband, Javier, has also applied for political asylum. And, you know, he was granted political asylum, and I think her application is still pending. She has since entered into a relationship with him. They got married. They have a baby. And she's saying that because of the situation, whilst her application is pending, you know, she's not able to just go out and search for a job without someone having to apply for work permit for her. And her husband, Javier, on the other hand, has been granted status. And so he is able to work freely. They have some kind of status where it's like stamped in their it's not really a passport, but it's like a travel. I don't even know what the heck it really is. It's not really, they say it's some kind of travel document, but then she's also said that certain countries like Honduras will not accept this document from Cayman. So it is a little bit of a hot mess. And to be honest, I was very, very sympathetic to their plight because I have said this numerous times. I have lived in another man's country, and I've had the experience of having to deal with immigration, you know, having to deal with border control, not always understanding fully all the implications of certain things that were going on. In fact, I lived in the US for 15 years, and for the vast majority of that time, I had no idea until I was finishing high school and started to apply for universities, to go to college and whatever, and I was getting acceptance letters. And all of a sudden I was told, oh, by the way, you are an international student. And I was like, what does that even mean? Because my aunt, you know, she went through her process when I went to live with her, and she had to go through a lot of paperwork, whatever. But I was like 9 years old. I knew nothing about the process. And evidently her understanding of it was also very limited. So in the 10 years that I was actually with her, she should have regularized my status and probably taken me off of being an international student. And she never did that. She filled out the initial application, paid the fees, and I don't know if there was an annual fee at that time or how it worked. But when I was getting ready to go to university, the reason why they were concerned about it and made sure that they informed me was because the university has to treat me as an international student because of my immigration status. And then I also paid 4 times the tuition amount that an in-state student would pay. And I'm like, I've been in-state forever. Anyway, so I'm sympathetic towards anybody who has to deal with immigrations around the world, because I know it isn't easy. I know what my own personal experiences have been. And yes, if you want to stay in a country, you will do just about anything that it takes. Now, I try to follow the law, so I'm not going to do anything that it takes, meaning break the law. But you do feel a little sense of like desperation, like, yeah, I want to stay in the States. So what do I need to do? What paperwork do I? We even tried to, because ironically enough, I received a scholarship from a law firm when I was doing my bachelor's degree. So I'd applied to different scholarships and stuff, and I'd received a scholarship. It was based on an essay I submitted and some kind of debate presentation or whatever. So I got this scholarship, and then I realized that I'm an international student, and I was telling them about it, and they're like, huh, okay. So they had an immigration law firm on staff, and an immigration lawyer, my apologies. And he tried to assist me with trying to change my status. And the easiest, less complicated way to change it actually was to have my aunt adopt me. And that's what we did. But oh my gosh, did we kind of get it wrong? Because they're like, huh, she technically had to adopt you before your 18th birthday. So now she's adopted you, but it's too late for the purposes of immigration, because they have all these little intricate things that you need to know, especially in America. Immigration lawyers, I mean, they specialize in immigration because it's a big field of law. And there are lots of complications, and you read this section and then it refers you to another section, and you fill out their residency form. You would think that Cayman is a joke because of the things that they require. So I get it, and I always try to never forget my experiences, what I had to endure, and what I had to come from. So I agree. Brent talks about the paradox of tolerance. A tolerant society without limits will be subverted and destroyed by the intolerant. I'm a very, very tolerant person, right? Up to a point. Yesterday, now, I think that despite all of what we went through, they explained to us, you guys remember, Erica told her story. She was very, very passionate. We allowed her to speak in Spanish because obviously that's her mother tongue. It's easier for her to express herself. I said, fine, I totally get it. I totally understand. A lot of people translating the whole 9 yards. Okay. The other young man that was with her, he was talking about how he's wearing an ankle bracelet. They're treating him like a criminal. He's not a criminal. He's just waiting on his status. He just wants to work, all of these things. Has the Cayman Islands government abused these people and taken advantage of them? No. Has the system been a little bit confusing and a little bit complicated in terms of what has been happening? Yes. Is the asylum law, probably as equitable and clear to understand as it should be? Probably not. And I said this from the onset when they were protesting, that the biggest issue really is it seems like either they were not properly informed about the limitations of this type of status that they get. So when they got it, it's not a free-for-all. You don't get a Cayman passport. You don't get Cayman status. But there also seems to have been some confusion about how do you move from this immigrant status into eventually getting something more permanent. Because if you have a document that doesn't permit you to travel, and some countries won't accept it, it's technically not a passport. It's like, what are you going to do? Because you only have the passport from Cuba. And obviously you are relinquishing that because you're saying that the Cuban government is trying to, subvert you. And is that the word I'm looking for? But, deny you your human rights. You are afraid to return. There's all of these things. Now, please, folks, don't send me a voice note during the show because I can't actually listen to the voice note, right? So, there are definitely some issues that need ironing out. And we were trying to understand legally what was happening. So, I have said, let us be fair to these individuals. If our government has failed them in terms of the law isn't properly developed, because we know that happens, for God's sake. It happens with Cayman as much as anybody else. Fix the law, fix the loopholes. Make sure when they apply for political asylum, they know how this process works. In fact, I have said that everyone should know how this process works. I've invited the government, the CBC people, to come on and explain it to us, the people. What is political asylum? How do you apply for political asylum? What are the perimeters and law? All these questions. And they basically said no. Oh, well, it's an active case. And I said, but I'm not going to ask you anything about the case, the situation. We want to know the backdrop against which this works. We have general questions. And they still said no. This is where now government gets blamed from me. They need to shape up, okay? As border control, if there are procedures in place, if there are laws in place, and the people of this country are saying to you, we don't understand the laws and how this works, we are asking you to come and explain it to us, you should make yourself available. Avail yourself to the people of the Cayman Islands or visitors, everybody, to explain how this works. Why are you not doing that? And this is the management at CBC. And by extension, the political arm should be saying to them, yes, go and explain to the people how this works. If we've gotten something wrong legislatively, you can talk about, well, there are some things that need to be tightened in the law. Or there's some things that we never envisioned that we now need to address. Nothing wrong with that. But you have radio silence. They're not talking to the people. So what happened over the weekend, folks? We broke the story, as you guys remember, that the Cubans, 10 additional persons. Now, remember, in November of last year, there were a group that also left the jurisdiction. And those individuals went on to Mexico. So when the Mexican authorities picked them up, they took them to Mexico. They were definitely in Mexican waters, right? So they did not return. Okay. So now we have a situation where another group left over the weekend, and that group was picked up. So it's a total of 13 people. So 10 of them are migrants. In other words, their application, I guess, if they've submitted one, is still pending. And then the additional 3 people are Erica, the baby, who's like 1 year old, and Erica's husband, Javier, which has been granted political asylum. We reported this on the 5th. Today is now the 7th. And we said on the morning of the 5th, government took, this is Monday morning, early Monday morning, like 1 o'clock in the morning, was when they were discovered to have gone missing. So government on Monday late evening, I think it was after 6 or 7 o'clock, they sent out a press release basically confirming what we had told you 12 hours before. Okay. So they had gone missing. They said that they were aware. Cayman Islands Customs and Border Control can confirm that, yes, 10 migrants who were wearing monitoring devices went missing in the early hours of Monday morning. They lost connection with the monitors on land, but they have seen that it says the 10 migrants all lost connection at sea. So I assume that these monitors only have so much of a radius, a distance that they can track. And the last point that they tracked them to was out in the ocean. So they know they're in a boat, they're gone, that's it. Okay. So now fast forward to yesterday. Was it yesterday? The days are kind of wonky this week because of the public holiday. All of a sudden, we hear that they have been picked up by a Panamanian vessel. There was some kind of U.S. Coast Guard involvement, but this vessel was actually en route. Let me just tell you what my sources told me. And of course, none of this is confirmed by the government because the government doesn't ever tell us much of anything. They will send out a very sterilized press release And you guys know here in CMR, we don't rely just on what the government says, because God knows we would never get it. We would never get the real story. So my sources said to me, it's a Panamanian ship registered in Panama, and it was going from Ingleside, Texas to Panama when it picked these migrants up. Okay. Now the migrants, 10 migrants, and 3 additional non-migrants. And I don't even know if the government press release made mention of the 3 other people, but we know for a fact that they're on the boat. So this vessel, we actually have a picture of it. It's called the Bulk Freedom, and it was headed from, and actually had to come into our waters then to bring these people back. Now, this is where the story gets a little bit interesting, right? They have expressed, and I've seen some of their videos. Now, there have been a lot of videos. I got to be honest with you. I cannot watch every single time Javier goes live, because he goes live a lot. And there have been a lot of videos with him. And I saw one of them where he was saying to the guy, they do not wish to return to the Cayman Islands. Okay. The guy on board, he was speaking in English. So I don't know if he's Panamanian, if he's American or whatever. And he said, listen, the alternative for you, if you do not disembark back to the Cayman Islands, the alternative for you is going to be far worse. Now, I don't know what he meant by that. I don't know where they're going to take them. I don't know if he's saying that, they're going to be going to Panama and they're going to get locked up in some facility there, which really and truly, the Cayman Islands government, they may not want to be here any longer, but I don't think that they can say that we have abused them in any way. The Cayman Islands government houses them. NAU pays for their rent. We have given them food vouchers. Obviously, when they're working, the government doesn't support working people. So when they have a job and when they're working, they need to sort that out. There was some complaint during COVID that they weren't getting their food vouchers on time. Well, I can tell you there's a lot of people who weren't getting all sorts of payments on time from government at that time. I don't condone that kind of behavior. If you said to people, you're eligible for food vouchers and, you have to supply that to people, you have to know that they are relying upon that. And of course, if they are expecting it at a certain time, give the people the food vouchers. Thank you so much for that beautiful picture of that vessel. So, I can't sit here and tell you that I'm in favor of government slackness. We call out government slackness every single day on this program. It is what it is. Anyway, they don't want to come back. Okay. I don't have no problem with you wanting to come back. In fact, I don't even know why we would take them from Panamanian waters and bring them all the way back in this direction anyway. I don't understand that. And government, I think, has to do some explaining in terms of international protocols, because obviously there are international laws that have to be followed. When you're out in international waters, you don't get to claim, that, oh, well, just take me back to the Cayman Islands. Normally, whoever finds you has to process you through their immigration system. So Sharon wants to know, why do they have to wear ankle bracelets? They're wearing ankle bracelets as a tracking device, not because they are criminals. And this is one of the things that we had to explain when we were interviewing the young man with Erica. And he's uncomfortable having to wear an ankle bracelet because he says that when people see that, they assume that he is a criminal. And I agree with him that has to be a very uncomfortable position. And I thought about it and I said, right now we've ordered all these fancy wrist trackers for people with COVID. Why can't that be deployed? I think it's a slightly different type of device though, right? Because that device, you have to map a certain area to contain people in. I don't think you can map all of the Cayman Islands with that device. That's probably why, from a technical and logistical perspective, they have not utilized those devices. But I still have to wonder, has the government explored any other options that allow them to track someone without it being the same tracking device that they do use for criminals, because those are the exact same devices that they use on criminals. So when you're out on bail and you have, one of the conditions of your bail might be to wear an ankle monitor so that they know your whereabouts. So if they tell you you live in Savannah, you've committed a crime, they don't want you to contact any witnesses, they don't want you driving to West Bay because maybe witnesses are in West Bay or whatever, you cannot go to West Bay without, in theory, them knowing, because the tracking device pings and tells them your exact location. And we know there have been some issues with those in the past. We won't get into that here on this program. So that's the situation. Yes, they're wearing these devices. I don't know, again, if government has explored any other options, right? So they left. They got picked up. They're saying they don't want to come back. I have no issues with that. Where I take an issue, and I want to be very, very clear, I have nothing. We actually have Cuban relatives. I have relatives in Cuba. They left Cuba, came to Cayman. One is like a teacher. They're, what we would say professionals. They came here because they are Caymanian. They have Caymanian connections. Although they don't really know anything about Cayman, I think they've lived their entire lives in Cuba. When they came here, they found Cayman difficult to adjust. They could not adjust to the Cayman Islands because they were kind of used to the system in Cuba. I mean, they've said to me, Castro gives us milk until the age of like 5 or whatever. You get cheese, you get all these under the socialist society. You get things. Here, nobody ain't giving you jack. You got to work for it. Right? So you got to get up, you got to go to work, you got to, hustle. And they thought the hustle in Cayman was too much. They're like, everybody here is like hustling. Like, it's like you want a house, you want to do that. It's like a big thing. They're okay with a different standard of living. So, okay. Again, that's their choice. If they come here and they're like, we're not used to this, keeping up with the Joneses, the hustle and the bustle. They left Cayman and went back to Cuba. And they still live in Cuba and they don't want to come back. Now, they don't mind calling you on the phone and say, oh, cousin, can you send me some money, please? It's like, that hustle that you ran away from? The rest of us are still here hustling, and high cost of living and all these bills to pay. So you can sit in Cuba and put up your feet and talk about, you don't like this capitalist community that we have to live in here in the Cayman Islands. But at the same time, you can't really be expecting any handouts from us either. I digress. It's just a different way of living is the point that I'm trying to make. And just because they're from Cuba doesn't mean that they're going to come here and like what they see in the Cayman Islands. And that is their choice. That is their prerogative. I have no issues with that. Where I take issue is yesterday, in my mind, they went over the top. So when they start talking, for example, about the fact that we as a country are a communist government and we have abused and mistreated them, this is now where I have an issue. Most people who come to the Cayman Islands and most people who live in the Cayman Islands are doing so, I would hope, willingly and freely. If you don't want to be here, please do not feel like you have to remain in this jurisdiction under duress, because that is not fair to you. And it's certainly not fair to the people of the Cayman Islands, because you are going to have a certain expectation that can't be met. And you're going to have complaints, etc., about the people and the government and the system here. So allow them to leave. I don't even know what this argument is. So when they start calling us a communist country, that's where I kind of draw the line, because now you have insulted me as a Caymanian. I criticize this government all the time. Do we live in a communist country? Absolutely not. Nowhere near it. Do we have issues? Yes. Like every other country in the world, we've got things that need to be fixed. We have issues that need to be addressed. Our political arm of the government isn't perfect. Our civil service arm of the government isn't perfect. And we have demands and expectations that they do better. Does that mean that you, as a foreign national in the Cayman Islands, get to lambast our government and call them a communist government, which actually factually isn't true? I say no. You can criticize. I mean, when I lived in America, I was always cautious about criticizing the US government. I never felt like it was my place as a non-citizen of that government. Not everybody sees it that way. So a lot of non-citizens, if they're living in America, they're like, well, I have a right to criticize. I share a different opinion there. But I think that in your criticisms of any government that isn't yours, you should do the utmost to try to remain respectful. And when you cannot remain respectful, this now is where I'm going to have an issue with you. You guys know during COVID, a lot of the expat population had a lot of comments, how our government was handling the lockdown, what they were doing, et cetera, et cetera. Some of those comments went over the top and overboard. And everything that was being said was a complaint. I didn't really get into it because I knew people were on high alert. They were all stressed out. They were going through something that they'd never experienced before. They're more worried about the swimming pool than anything else. I really didn't. If you go back and you listen to the programs during that time, I didn't bring them and I didn't carry them. I just kind of watched the conversation, listened to my fellow Caymanians complain about them, and just kind of left it where it was. So they go out in international waters or wherever they were. I'm assuming they were in international waters. This Panamanian boat picks them up en route from Texas back to Panama. And then we now have an issue where they're on board this vessel and saying that they do not wish to return. Yesterday, I spoke to a high-ranking government official, and they said, we're taking legal advice. We don't know what to do. We've never had a situation like this before, and we're trying to figure it out. Fair enough. It's not every day that this happens anywhere in the world, much less the Cayman Islands. So at some point, they must have come to the decision that they would take them back because that was the official government response later on in the day that they would be taking them back. But here's the thing. Why are you taking back people that have said they do not wish to come back? They have made that abundantly clear. Every time Javier gets there, he says, we do not want to go back to the Cayman Islands. We're not happy there. We're not happy with how we treat them. People on the ship are saying, really? The Cayman Islands is one of the best places in the world. Do you know where you're going to be going? They don't care. They just want out of here. That's their business. I really don't care. If they don't want to come back here, let them go. Free the Cubans. Why is our government insisting that they come back? Now there have been talks of, was some of them involved? And again, this is speculation, not confirmation. The government has not said anything about this. The police are actively investigating this. Other sources have said to us that there have been some evidence of jewelry found from the jewelry robbery that happened over the weekend and Saturday. The police haven't said that. The authorities haven't said that. Is that why they want them to come back so that they can then arrest them and deal with them criminally? Is that why some of them don't want to come back? We are speculating. We do not know for certain, but these are some of the rumors that are in circulation in the local community. But they are hell-bent on not returning to the Cayman Islands. Our government seems prepared to force them to return, so much so that this morning I woke up to messages that we sent a negotiating team late yesterday out there to talk to them, to try to negotiate them out. They barricaded themselves in a room, apparently. Now, there's some confusion about, is the door locked from the inside, the outside? They're saying that they want to come out, but they're not being let out. I don't know what that means. Because if you went into the room, presumably the room is locked from the inside and not the outside. That's normally how room doors work. And our people are trying to negotiate you to come out and come off the ship. The ship is stationed out in out in the harbor. It can't come in because of the size of the vessel. My understanding is it cannot come in all that close. So there are some concerns and issues about that. But again, let me just show you this vessel. This is what the vessel looks like. And so you guys see these 4 stacks. I don't know exactly what they are, but this is the Boat Freedom. And they are, very unique in terms of their design. So we went out there, we understood that a negotiating team was sent, and that negotiating team yesterday was unsuccessful in actually getting them to leave. So now we're creating a situation, folks, that is going to be garnishing international media attention, which in all honesty is not really something that we need. This is the vessel in Cayman water, same vessel, Bulk Freedom. So they're refusing to leave or to get off the vessel to return to the Cayman Islands. They're saying that they don't want to return to the Cayman Islands. We are saying you got to return. Why are we insisting? This is where government, I think, should answer the people here today. Why are we insisting that they come back here? What good could we possibly think will ever come of this situation? 412 of you now logged into the program. Big shout out to our YouTube audience. We have 48 people on YouTube at the moment, and the remaining 368 folks are on Facebook. So why are we insisting that they come back? If the government can legit answer that question for us, I think that might give us some comfort in terms of understanding what is actually going on here. Because otherwise, I'm confused. How can you force people to come back against their will? If the people don't want to come, they don't want to come. Now, who is going to take them? I don't know. They were found in international waters. A Panamanian vessel picked them up. It seems to me like they should be headed to Panama. And Panama will sort them out. Now, I'm no expert in international laws, folks, but here's what someone has recently shared. This person said, in international waters, unless it is an undocumented vessel, the laws of the registration country prevails. In some circumstances, certain aspects of international marine law prevails, but the registered port of the vessel holds dominance as it represents a piece of that country. The Cayman Islands Shipping Registry is very popular because it bodes with the safety, stability, and protection the Cayman Islands offers. Ask yourself, if this was a Cayman registered vessel, a multi-million-dollar mega yacht owned by a billionaire, and the Cayman Islands government handled the situation the same way, letting the Cubans dictate and call the shots, how popular would registering of vessels in Cayman become? Our shipping registry would be gone just as quickly as tourism industry dried up. The territorial waters of Cayman and most countries is 12 miles. So thank you so much for that very knowledgeable contribution. Now, they have said they do not want to come on. Our authorities this morning sent out armed officers on board this vessel because they're saying that they've locked themselves into a room and the crew and captains are afraid. Tell me again, why do we want these people to return against their will? I'm just wondering. I'm confused. Another comment. The fact is, it seems like the CI government has decided that they want to take the Cubans off the vessel. If that is the case, what bargaining or negotiating power do the Cubans have? Are they going to harm themselves or the little child? Is that the route that they take? Then that's something else they would be held accountable for. They're refusing to comply with a police order, and on top of that, they barricaded themselves on board of a Panamanian registered vessel. That vessel is in fact by law a piece of Panama. No matter where in the world that vessel is, it flies a Panamanian flag because it belongs to Panama and gets to exercise and enjoy all of the benefits and protections the laws of Panama has to offer. If the Cayman Islands government is too soft and incompetent to properly enforce its laws and by extension international marine law and assist another country in that, then simply leave the Cubans on board, secure the room they've entombed themselves in, let the ship continue on to Panama, and I guarantee you that the Panamanian forces know how to deal with them. When this whole situation goes viral, and I guarantee you it will, every terrorist in the world will take note and realize that the Cayman Islands, a UK territory, is a very soft target for hijackings, kidnappings, and other terrorist activities. So the CICG, that's the Cayman Islands Coast Guard vessel, Guardian, headed back out towards the ship. That was this morning at 7:35 a.m. And this person says they're probably taking them food. Some very, very interesting points, folks. So armed officers are now on board this vessel. This is a crazy situation. What is going to be the outcome here, folks? Louis says, ironically, the Cubans are on a boat named Vessel. So let me share with you one of the videos. Like I said, Javier is always going live. So I'm going to share with you a live that was about an hour ago. Okay? So that we can get the latest, because he's done like 10 live every single day since they've been on this vessel. We can't do every single one of those. But let us see, as an hour ago, what he's saying his position is. Those of you who habla español, please prepare to translate, because he's speaking quickly and I would have to pull out the translator for real. So let's see if you can translate this. And I'm going to share the latest video with you all so that you can see what Javier has to say. Okay. ¿Listas? Okay, vámonos.
Bueno, familia, buenos días para todas las personas que nos siguen ahí y que están siguiendo esta causa justa de estos cubanos que todavía están trancados aquí en esta habitación. En este módulo, porque esto es una habitación de módulo. O sea, en este módulo, sí. Aquí tenemos a todas las personas aquí, muchas personas débiles ahí tiradas en el piso. Ya les empeñado ya, bien, vayan viendo ya. Estamos orinando. Orinando en pomo porque no tienen cerrado el acceso al baño. La puerta continúa cerrada. No podemos salir. No tenemos alimentación, no tenemos agua. Ya no tenemos agua. Nuestra hija no tiene agua. Las personas que están aquí no llevan más de 24 horas, ¿no? Casi 24 horas. Casi llevamos 24 horas sin alimentarnos, porque desde que llegó el departamento de migración aquí, llegó la policía de Islas Caimán aquí, cerró todos los canales aquí de ayuda a estas personas que están aquí. Ya llevamos más de 24 horas cerrados aquí en esta habitación. Miren, señores. No pensamos. Personas ahí tiradas en el piso. Yo quiero, por favor, que algún tribunal internacional vea esta injusticia. Esto es una cosa de urgencia, señores. Es una súplica que estamos haciendo a cualquier parte del mundo que nos estén mirando para que nos rescaten de lo que está pasando aquí en las costas de Islas Caimán, señores. Mira las violaciones que están haciendo y miren cómo nos están tratando, personas durmiendo en el piso. Mira eso, señor, personas durmiendo ahí en el piso, ¿sí? Un piso aquí lleno de churros, no tenemos agua, no tenemos comida, no tenemos alimentos, la niña no tiene leche, ellos están a toda costa, ellos nos están negando toda la ayuda, todas las provisiones que podamos obtener para poder alimentarnos, para poder tener el servicio sanitario. Aquí no tenemos ningún tipo de servicio. Nos quieren obligar que nos quedemos en tierra de Caimán para estamos orinando en pomo y yo creo que el sentido de todo esto cuando lleguemos a tierra de Caimán es tirarnos a la niña a nosotros y coger a todas estas personas y deportarlo para Cuba, señores. Y nosotros no estamos de acuerdo en que nos deporten. No sabemos cuáles son las intenciones del gobierno de Islas Caimán y no queremos retornar a Islas Caimán. No queremos retornar a Islas Caimán. Miren, señor, en situaciones precarias, miren, orinando en pomo, haciendo las necesidades en un cubo. haciendo las necesidades de un cubo ahí, miren eso. Porque no tenemos acceso a un baño, no tenemos acceso a nada. Y ellos todavía no han abierto esa puerta. No quieren abrir la puerta, señores. Ellos no quieren abrir esa puerta.
Ni siquiera a la niña le pasan comida.
Ni siquiera a esa pequeña niña le pasan alimentos. No quieren pasar alimentos de estos desgraciados aquí, asesinos, que no les interesa nada. No les importa nada. Estos desgraciados asesinos aquí no les interesa nada. Ni se preocupa por el bienestar de estos seres humanos que están aquí, que no quieren retornar a esa isla, señores. Porque vienen de esa isla sufriendo, y sabemos que si retornamos a esa isla, miren todo lo que nos están haciendo aquí en este barco. Y no hemos pisado todavía tierra de Cayman Island. Si retornamos a esa isla, la represión contra nosotros va a ser, devastadora. No queremos. Entonces seguimos documentando aquí los videos para que ustedes compartan estos videos.
Que pueda compartir esto para que no descargue.
Estamos desesperados, familia. Estamos dentro de un barco, nos tienen trancados dentro de una habitación. No tenemos aquí. No hay oxígeno, no hay nada. Aquí no hay ventilación de nada. Estos son los nombres de los capitanes de este barco. Miren, señores.
Por favor, los llamen.
Estos señores nos estaban ayudando. Estos son los nombres del capitán del barco. Miren.
Los números, los emails.
Estas personas nos estaban ayudando, pero llegó el departamento de migración, como siempre, ella con su bola de mentiras y su bola de patraña. Y cogieron y le lavaron el cerebro a estas personas, que estas personas se han negado a dar asistencia a estas personas que están aquí. Se han negado, no quieren darle asistencia, no quieren darle asistencia a esa niña, no quieren hacer nada. Ellos están negados, ellos tienen la puerta cerrada ahí. Es así como está actuando el departamento de migración de Islas Caimán, junto con la policía de Islas Caimán aquí. Miren, señores, seres humanos aquí tirados, durmiendo en el piso sin agua. Ya no tenemos agua ya. Miren los pomos vacíos. Todos los pomos vacíos. Mire, señores, pomos vacíos, los pomos ahí llenos de orines. Eso es lo próximo que vamos a tener que tomarnos porque no tenemos agua, no tenemos alimentos. Llevamos 24 horas sin comer nada, sin alimentarnos. Nosotros pasamos 2 días en el mar, cogiendo sol, ensolado, deshidratado, muchas personas vomitando en el mar. Llegamos aquí a esta embarcación, mire, señores, hay necesidad de eso. Mire, señores, con mujeres aquí, mujeres ahí, mire, señores, mujeres ahí, miren. El grado de inhumanidad que hay aquí en esta isla, mire, para que ustedes vean cómo se comportan aquí los oficiales de aquí en esta isla. ¿Ustedes creen que nosotros vamos a estar seguros si nosotros retornamos a tierra de Islas Caimán? Cuando miren las medidas que están tomando hoy en contra de estos seres humanos aquí, no vamos a retornar a Islas Caimán. Estamos negados totalmente a regresar a Islas Caimán. No vamos a regresar. Y todo lo que pasa aquí, todo lo que le pasa a estos seres humanos aquí, a todo este grupo de seres humanos que está aquí, todo lo que le pasa, ellos son los máximos responsables. Están violando los derechos humanos contra todos estos seres humanos que están aquí, en especial con esa bebé que está ahí. Ellos fueron los que me obligaron a salir de esa isla, tuvimos que montarnos yo, mi esposa, mi familia, tuvimos que salir de esa isla por todas las represiones que tenían, por todo el maltrato que tenían contra mi familia. Todas estas personas se fueron de esa isla por todo el maltrato que tenían con estas personas. Nadie quiere vivir en esa isla. Se fueron 14 cubanos, se fueron para México. 14 se fueron hace poco para México. 14 cubanos se fueron para México, vivieron de Islas Caimán en una balsa y ahora se fueron 13 más porque no están de acuerdo con el régimen, con ese régimen que tiene Caimán. No están de acuerdo, señores. Y ustedes miren con cuáles son las represalias. ¿Cuáles son las represalias, señores? Mira aquí. Estamos aquí en este bote y mira cómo nos tratan. Con las puertas cerradas. Miren, señores, las puertas cerradas. No nos quieren abrir las puertas. No nos quieren dar alimentos, no nos quieren dar agua, no nos quieren dar nada. Llevamos ya un día aquí, casi un día, un poco más de un día, aquí trancados, sin alimentación, sin agua y sin nada. Este grupo de cubanos durmiendo en el piso, con condiciones precarias.
Sin bañarnos, sin nada.
Sin bañarnos.
Ellos no pueden estar subidos a este banco.
Mire, señor.
Ellos no pueden venir y cerrar la puerta.
Aquí los periodistas están vendidos.
Los periodistas están vendidos. Para acusarnos y rápido subieron las publicaciones. Ahora para defendernos.
No hay ni libertad de prensa aquí porque teníamos una periodista que trabajaba para el periódico Cayman Kind y cuando el gobierno de Caimán se enteró de que esa periodista nos estaba ayudando, la despidieron del periódico. La despidieron, despedida. Y es así como funciona este sistema y es por eso que no es un sistema confiable para convivir en él. Solamente las personas ricas y apoderadas tienen derecho en esa isla. Las personas pobres como nosotros y emigrantes como nosotros no somos pisoteadas de mirada. No vamos a aceptar vivir en esa isla. No queremos y no vamos a regresar. Y si ellos quieren usar la fuerza, que usen la fuerza. Quieren abrir la puerta a la fuerza, quieren usar la fuerza, que usen para que las personas del mundo vean la verdadera cara de los oficiales de migración, de la policía de Cayman Island. Miren, señores.
Ustedes nos tratan mal. Dito a nosotros que todavía no tenemos papeles.
Los días van pasando y nosotros estamos aquí trancados. Ellos no quieren abrir la puerta. Ellos no quieren darle ayuda a estas personas que están aquí. Ellos no quieren darle alimentos. No quieren darle agua. La niña está sin alimento. La niña no tiene alimento. Ya nos quedamos sin alimento para la niña. Y a ellos no les interesa nada de eso. No les importa nada. A ellos no les interesa nada que hay una pequeña aquí. A ellos no les interesa nada de eso, señores.
Un llamado que se le
no les interesa nada de eso. A ellos no les importa nada de eso. Ellos siguen diciendo que ellos son los que tienen la razón. Porque ellos son el gobierno y son los que tienen la razón. La puerta la tienen trancada ahí, bajo candado ahí. No tenemos acceso al baño, no tenemos acceso a agua potable, no tenemos acceso a alimentación, no tenemos acceso a nada. Y estamos bobados aquí dentro de este cuarto, aquí casi sin ventilación, solo con un ventilador que se lo tenemos puesto a la niña. Es así, señores. Compartan los videos, señores, para que esto llegue a alguna parte. Para que estos videos lleguen a alguna parte. Mira ese muchacho ahí tirado en el piso, mire.
Esto es un llamado que se les hace, caballero, quien nos pueda ayudar, cualquier país, cualquier abogado, cualquier persona que nos pueda ayudar, que nos rescaten, caballero.
Esto es un llamado auxilio para cualquier organización no gubernamental del mundo, cualquier persona que pueda ayudarnos, señores, porque no queremos retornar a Islas Caimán y esto se está haciendo ya se está grabando, ya el problema se está grabando porque estamos hablando ya que nos quedamos sin alimentación, no solo nosotros, sino también en especial esa pequeña que está ahí. Y ella sí no tiene culpa de nada de esto, ni el capricho de ese gobierno ahí, ni el descaro de ellos. Para que sepa. Y las intenciones que veo que tienen es quitando a la niña, a mí, a mi esposa, quitando a la niña. Y ellos mismos fueron los que nos forzaron, porque tengo todas las evidencias ahí. Ellos fueron los que nos forzaron a salir de esa isla. Nos forzaron porque cerraron todas las puertas que tocábamos para pedir trabajo. Estábamos sin alimento, sin dinero, sin trabajo, con un gobierno, con un gobierno virándonos al pueblo de Caimán completo. Virándonos al pueblo de Caimán completo. Incentivando el odio en contra de nosotros, incentivando el odio. Las personas hacen comentarios de odio. Ojalá lo hubieran dejado en el mar, ojalá se mueran en el mar. Las personas, porque es el gobierno que se ha encargado de incentivar el odio en contra de estas personas. Somos buenas personas, no somos personas trabajadoras, personas de bien. Y ellos se han encargado de incentivar ese odio, de sembrar el odio contra el pueblo caimanero para que hablen estupideces en contra de nosotros. Sin saber qué tipo de personas somos nosotros. Y las personas las personas en Caimán, ese pueblo ahí, están con mensajes de odio en internet, hablando cosas, diciendo ojalá lo hubieran dejado en el mar y ojalá se hubieran muerto. Y no estamos seguros, no vamos a regresar ahí porque tenemos un gobierno que está incentivando el odio contra estas personas que están aquí. Y aquí todos los que estamos aquí somos personas de bien. Aquí no hay delincuentes, aquí no hay ladrones, aquí no hay nada, señores. Aquí todos personas de bien. Personas de familia, que lo único que queremos es echar para adelante, lo único que queremos es tener un hogar, una familia, eso es lo único que queremos, tener un trabajo. Las cosas no pueden ser libres, libertad para todos, libertad, es lo que queremos, ser hombres libres y vivir en una sociedad democrática donde tengamos libertad de expresión.
Bueno, lo que tienen que nos den libre.
Déjalo que hable.
Déjanos ir.
Ya,
Nosotros no pertenecemos a Islas Caimán, no tenemos nada en Islas
Nosotros no cometimos ningún delito, nosotros nos compraron hasta más de 280 millas de aquí.
Exacto, nosotros nos
Nosotros
recogieron.
no robamos nada, ellos nos rescataron. ¿Por qué quieren que nosotros miremos? Nosotros nos fuimos de ahí, que lo entiendan ya, nosotros no queremos entrar.
¿Cuál es la intención de ellos?
Nosotros no nos robamos nada.
Ellos están malintencionados, ellos tienen malas intenciones con nosotros. Si nosotros nos vamos aquí de este barco, las intenciones que tiene el gobierno de Caimán con nosotros son malas. Son malas y es por eso que no queremos darnos aquí. No queremos regresar ahí porque ya hemos sufrido ya y sabemos cuál es la verdadera cara de ellos y sabemos cuáles son los procedimientos que ellos utilizan. ¿Entiendes? Y es por eso que no queremos regresar a esa isla, por eso que no queremos regresar a esa isla, señores. Llevo 4 años sufriendo en esa isla. 4 años soy refugiado político y yo estoy leal en esa isla. Yo 4 años tratando de salir de esa isla, señores. 4 años tratando de salir porque me dieron un pasaporte, me dieron un documental que ni siquiera me sirve para viajar. Llevo 4 años sufriendo con mi esposa no puede trabajar, mi hija no tiene nacionalidad, no tiene nada en esa isla, no tiene ningún tipo de derecho. Yo solo trabajando en una de las islas más caras del mundo ahí, trabajando, señor, no he podido ver a mi madre, no he podido ver a mi familia, es así, señores. Y es un sufrimiento constante en esa isla, señores. Llevo 4 años preso en esa isla y no quiero vivir más en esa isla, no quiero retornar a esa isla. Y estas personas que están aquí llevan años, casi 2 años ahí en esa isla esperando asilo político y tampoco le han dado su asilo, tampoco han visto a esa gente, ni han visto el caso de ellos.
Pero que asilo queremos,
ni han buscado evidencia.
Que tuyo que no vale nada. ¿Qué asilo tú quieres así? Esto no es asilo, esto es un engaño.
Esto no es un asilo, esto es una cédula. Lo que te dieron fue una cédula. A ti no te dieron asilo, fue una cédula.
Señores, ya no queremos retornar a Caimán y ellos quieren hacer las cosas a la fuerza. Si ellos quieren hacer las cosas a la fuerza, le vamos a pasar video para que ustedes vean la verdadera cara.
Ya la están viendo, la verdadera cara es esta, la están viendo.
Mire, señores, sin alimentos, mira, todos esos pomos que están ahí, ahí, estamos orinando en esos pomos ahí, miren. En esos pomos ahí.
Para bebérnoslo, porque no hay más,
haciendo la necesidad en Cuba, dentro de este cuarto, con mala higiene, con churres en el piso, sin alimentos, sin agua, ya nos quedamos sin agua, ya no tenemos agua, ya. Estamos dentro de un cuarto aquí, estamos sudando, nos podemos deshidratar, casi sin oxígeno, y ellos están ahí con sus puertas cerradas, ellos no quieren abrir la puerta, riéndose y fumando allá afuera, y hablando y haciendo historia, y nosotros aquí sufriendo, para que ustedes vean el grado de inhumanidad que tiene este gobierno en contra de estos seres humanos que están aquí. Miren, que no hemos cometido ningún delito, no hemos hecho nada, no hemos matado a nadie, no hemos hecho nada, nosotros no hemos hecho nada, ningún delito hemos hecho nosotros. Se pusieron.
Oh, my apologies. I forgot to unmute myself. Let me start over. I was saying that I paused the video. It's still another 15 plus minutes of that video left almost. And I wanted to thank all of you who were translating for us. Thank you very much. There's some confusion here about what is happening, whether they're locked in from the inside, locked in from the outside, or whatever the situation is. Well, what I do know is if this government is trying a tactic of forcing them to come out with no food, no water. They're claiming that, okay, they were not having this situation before the Caymanians authorities came on board. I'm not so sure that that's the reason. Let us try to examine from the Panamanian perspective what's happening here. They stop and they pick up people who they saw were in distress. If that is Panamanian property and you're like on Panamanian soil, again, don't know why they didn't take you back to Panama, but clearly they are wanting to get rid of these extra 13 people. Do they have the facilities on board to feed 13 additional persons? Probably not. That boat Freedom had their journey planned out. They would have packed so many supplies based on, their route and where they were going. Whatever business they have on that boat has now been interrupted because of this whole situation. They were probably hoping, oh, this is going to be a quick drop them off. We're gone. See you later. Had they known the complexities of what was involved with these migrants, I hate to say it, but they probably would have never picked them up. They would have just drove by and said, we'll call somebody for you. We'll call the Americans. Let the Americans deal with it. So now we have a situation, an internationally embarrassing situation where our government is telling these people on this Panamanian vessel that they have to come off. Why? They have made it patently clear on more than one occasion that they do not want to be here. Not just this group, but as Caribe is pointing out, also the other Cubans who escaped and went to Mexico. If they want to go to Mexico and Mexico wants to take them, adios. We are creating a situation that is far worse. We are horrible people, they have said. We are communists. We are mistreating them. We're abusing them. They're going to blame us for anything now that happens to them on this boat. They said that we barricaded them in. I don't think our government has actually done that, to be honest. I don't think the Cayman Islands government has even the power to get on a foreign vessel and say, oh, we're going to barricade these people into a room. If that has happened, that has to be happening because the Panamanian officials are doing it. That's not our government commandeering the ship and telling the Panamanians how to handle their business. They want to go back to Cuba. Can we call the Cuban government and say, would you like to take them back? Repatriation for free at this point. The vast majority of Cubans who come here do get repatriated. It's my understanding. I'll have to FOI the exact numbers, but they do get repatriated back to Cuba. And that's why they wear that ankle bracelet, because in the interim, while they're being processed, they have to know where they are. They can't just allow them to roam freely. This is a horrific situation. I think our government needs to make a decision today. The political arm needs to stand up. I know they're campaigning barely. And they need to say, listen, they don't want to come off. It is going to require force to remove them from that vessel. And that would be a tremendous mistake. You have a baby on board. And really and truly, that child is my only concern. Adults have made decisions. They have placed themselves in a situation. They will have to deal with the consequences. Oh, they're afraid about what we're going to do with them when they come off. Let me tell you what the government is going to do with them. Apparently, we have plans to take them out and put them in quarantine at a posh hotel at the cost of $3,000 for 14 days. Those are the plans that we have, where we will feed them 3 square meals a day. They will get water. They'll have internet. I don't know what he's going to do when his internet runs out on that phone because he can't live stream anymore. They're going to have all of these resources available to them at the Holiday Inn or wherever it is that we're quarantining people now at our expense. You do the math, 3,000 times 13 people. Well, the baby is a half of a person at this point. Does it make sense? Is it worth what is going to be the fallout? And the worst part about it is if you are bringing people, you're forcing people to return who clearly do not want to be here. What are you going to do with them? If they are willing to go this far to leave and protest, what do you expect will be their response when they come out of quarantine? Huh? You think they're going to just peacefully go back to life, return to work? I don't know how many were working or whatever. Nope. We can expect more protests, more upheaval, more attempted escapes. Are we going to put them in prison? What's the long-term plan? My apologies for the mic being off earlier. What are we going to do? Why isn't the government? This is when we need a press conference. We need our government to stand up and say, hey, we've got this situation on our hands. Here are what our options are. Here's what we're looking at. Here's what we're exploring. Elizabeth says to deploy the helicopter to pick them up and drop them off to Cuba. Unfortunately, that's not what the helicopter is going to be there for. But I think we need to know what the plan is. You see, we don't get to dictate to other countries. Like, we can't tell Mexico, you have to take them. However, at the same time, they're on a Panamanian vessel. Obviously, the Cayman Islands officials or Coast Guard, etc., are working in conjunction with the Panamanian authorities to try to resolve this. For them, the easiest thing is to just get these people off a boat. We are trying to get some work done here. So if they are trying to get some work done and they want to continue in their voyage, for them, the easiest solution is just to get these people off the boat. But that's not what the people want. Now, I don't believe that people should be dictating to the government. They're not prisoners, so this is a little bit of a gray area, but they are migrants. So I don't think that they should be dictating to us what our laws are and how we should do things and so forth. It would be a free-for-all because all of us could be able to make up the laws as we go along and say what we want applied to us. But at the same time, I can see how this situation is going to continue to escalate with the Cubans. So this becomes both a legal and practical solution that has to be deployed. The Cayman Islands government doesn't need the headache right now. The Coast Guard barely has their feet wet in terms of how to handle situations like this. Have we ever in the history of the Cayman Islands had to deal with a hostage style situation? They're claiming that we're holding them hostage, I guess. No food, no water. They're having to use the bathroom in little bottles. I don't even know how that's working out. You've got at least 2 women that are there with all these men and this small baby. I mean, I don't know how comfortable they are with that situation, but that would make me very uncomfortable. The room isn't all that small based on what we see. It looks like, it's not like they're sitting on top of each other. So they do have some room. But this is going to get worse today. Something has got to be done. If we are not going to force them off of the vessel, which it doesn't seem like the Cayman Islands government is prepared to do that, although we have armed guards on the vessel, which I'm like, okay, what's the plan here? Where are we going with this? So the first question, Madeline, is who locked them into this room? Why would our authorities have that power even to do that? And it doesn't kind of make any sense because we're trying to get them out. So why lock them in? And when we're trying to get them to come out, we'd be like, pull them out, not lock them in. Woodrow wants to know what happened to their original vessel. No clue. We don't know. They're the ones who don't want to open the door. But they're saying, this is where it's confusing. They're saying it's locked from the outside. Okay. Now, I have some of the other Spanish people trying to translate, and they're like, they're speaking too fast. Erica, I think for some reason, I'm supposed to have her on my phone. Now, I don't know if she has internet out there or not. Erica, I was having some issues with my phone though, so I don't know. I'll try to see if I can call Erica. Anybody has Javier's number? I had taken down her number, but since then I've had all sorts of phone issues, so I don't even know. Let me see. All right, let me see. There has to be a solution that we have to reach. They do not appear to be prepared to come off of this boat. I don't know why. So he was live again 9 minutes ago. Let's see if we can reach out to Javier. Anybody have Javier's number? Send me the number. The authorities, the Panamanian authorities, they need to take control of this situation. I honestly don't think that this is, oh good, Erica's number. Here we go. Let's see if Erica will answer the phone. Ask and you shall receive. So I have Erica's number. I think she had given it to me before. So let me just call her and see if we can reach Erica.
Hello.
Hi, good morning, Javier.
Yes, how are you?
Buenos dias, it's Sandra. How are you?
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Tell me again, who are you?
This is Sandra from Cayman Mall Road.
No, I don't want to see William. Sorry.
Okay, so he doesn't want to deal with us. Well, there you have it. He has hung up the phone. He's answering Erica's phone, and he says he doesn't want to deal with us. Okay. Well, I don't know why he doesn't want to deal with us, but the truth, I guess, hurts. All we have said is do not insult this country by calling us a communist country. You don't wish to respect the Cayman Islands. You don't wish to be here. Then allow them to leave. I'm with you, Javier. Go. Don't come back. Let's make this as easy as possible for them to be able to leave. I don't know why he doesn't want to talk to us. Somebody says he has all this mouth, but he's scared to talk to you. Well, I don't know why. Because we are in agreement with you 100% that you need to go. We might have a differing opinion about why you need to go. But at this point, I think that the bottom line is you need to go. Someone had said that they spoke with an immigration attorney in the US, and they have said that we have a mess on our hands and should have never intervened. So the Cayman Islands government, Coast Guard, should have never said to the Panamanians to bring them back. Cayman should have never requested the boat to return here. They confirm about the 12 miles out being international waters. As such, had they been picked up by the USCG, They would have had no option but to take them through the U.S. asylum process. They should have been delivered to the nearest Panamanian port to be processed as asylum seekers. I agree. I agree 1,000%. I do not know. Okay, so someone is saying to me that he hung up the phone on you because in the video he said that you post the news about the robbery. Javier, understand me clearly. You need to understand what is going on. No one said that for sure you were involved in the robbery. What we have said is that sources have indicated that there has been evidence found regarding this robbery. But listen to me, my friend. If you're an innocent man doesn't want to talk about it. Does it not want to talk about it? An innocent man says, I have not done this. I have no connection to this. No one here on this boat has any connection to this. We don't know anything about the robbery. We don't know anything about the jewelry. We just want to, he's gone live again. We just want to be able to, get out of here, go on our way, whatever. Javier, at some point, you're going to run out of battery life on that phone. I don't know what kind of super phone you got. It definitely ain't an iPhone, I can tell you that. Right? So you don't have an iPhone. The battery's going to run out. Somebody said, why don't they just cut the internet connection on the boat? Well, I'm sure he's with Digicel or Flow or a local provider. So I don't know if on these ships they automatically have a, what would you call it? They have the ability to cut signals. I don't know what kind of vessel this is. I don't even know what the bulk Freedom carries. So who knows? This individual here says that we're adding to the fire. Words have consequences, especially when it comes from statements in public forums such as opinions. Listen, my dear, this is very, very simple. This isn't about fear mongering or anything else. They've made it very clear what their position is. Let them go. There's no argument there whatsoever. Go. Our government has made a mistake. We should have never requested them to return. And they need to now explain to the people of the Cayman Islands why we are requesting them to return. This is where I actually think that these rumors might have some water. What other logical explanation we could have for wanting them to come back? Tell me. Explain to me how returning them will have any benefit to us. Unless they know something that we don't know. And there's a reason why they want them to return. Luis says he knows 2 words in Spanish, sí and no. Yeah, I guess we'll go down there again. But I mean, at this point, it's like, what more is going to happen? It's a horrible situation. Leroy says they might be using free Wi-Fi from the port, but they're not like that close to the port. They're actually out on the water. So yesterday, if you guys remember the picture that we showed you, the closest we could get to it, actually, this is it, was from Sunset House. And this is zoomed in. So it's not really that close. It's still, a little ways out there. So Jack Sparrow took it from them. Ay. Anne says, well, maybe the crew is the one who locked them in because they're scared of them. Well, this is also the thing. I don't even know how many crew members are on that boat, but it is entirely possible that the 13 of them, say 12, because the baby, is just a baby. But the 12 adults that are on that vessel, it is entirely possible that they might be capable of taking over that vessel. And maybe the crew is like, we can't take this chance. Karen says they're Spaniards and they understand the implications here. I don't know. We've not heard anything from the Panamanian officials. Gabby, we were trying to get him on. He said he didn't want to talk to us. Shall we try him one more time? Then they say what? That a bilingual reporter from Cayman Compass got fired who tried to help them. What reporter was that? The Compass been firing all kind of people. I'm pretty sure that has nothing to do with them. I mean, they're creating a situation in their own head. They said the babies came out in, the government will be responsible for any situation that happens to her and them. They mentioned that they were legal refugees, but the government didn't treat them well for the last year. During COVID, you actually expect a little, I'm just like, okay. They ran away and don't want to come back. The baby, just because she's born here, doesn't mean she's Caymanian. And you see, this is where there's certain things that they will say, even about why Erica was arrested and her passport was taken, all this sort of stuff. Now, let us remember that Erica's situation recently was regularized and fixed where she could continue to work. And that situation hasn't obviously worked out for them and hasn't satisfied them, because here we are again with another predicament on our hands. I don't know. All I can say is let them go. There's absolutely no reason why they should be forced to return. Ay, caramba. Let me see here now. Good morning. God bless you. I got my source right here with me that wants to give you some information. They didn't lock themselves up accordingly. They were with open doors until they got to the docks here on island, and they had access to pretty much everything. Okay. So someone else said that they were found drifting because their vessel broke down and was drifting. They were rescued by the ship as mandated by International Maritime Organization and the Office of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Sounds like they would have preferred to be left alone, drift out in the middle of the ocean in a small boat with no power and very little food or water. Yep, so that's our Coast Guard boat. Let me guys show you something here. I think our officers, again, they've never had to deal with a situation like this. So I think they don't know what to do and they're confused. They don't want to come on board. We're going to have to take them by force. That probably isn't going to end well for anybody. They were saying, libre, libre. Yes, free them. I agree. Why not? Jairo says, Sandra, say go vete. Adios, hasta luego. Libre, I agree. Free them, let them go. Meryl says that she's had experience with the Cubans and they're not easy. Well, you know, they come from a country where I guess in order to survive, you probably have to do this sort of thing on a regular basis. I don't know. If this was Castro, I can tell you what, he wouldn't be putting up with this bullshit. And we do not agree with a lot of his methods. But someone said to me yesterday, maybe Castro knows that he has to treat people rough in order to get results because he knows what he's dealing with. You know, not everybody, not countries don't have the same policies. They don't respond the same. There's no doubt. Yeah. They said they've been locked out from outside. They cannot lock doors from the inside, and it does make sense for security measures. Doors should be able to be opened from the outside. Officers are confused and don't know how to handle the situation. Somebody else says the governor's office has to deal with this now. Involves negotiations with external governments of Cuba and Panama. Speaking of the governor's office, me. Okay, so negotiators asking them to open the window and curtain so that they could open the door. They did so, and still they did not open the doors. Officers are asking them to turn the lights on. They've been with the lights on or off. So somebody says they want to go to the US and that's their goal, but we can't take them to the US. The US didn't pick them up. They're not interested in taking them. I'm pretty sure of that. Again, there are international protocols that have got to be followed. So Leroy says they must have a charger and Wi-Fi. I hope he has unlimited data. Well, I tell you what, he's been streaming a lot. That is a souped up phone. My data would have run out long time, Digicel. Would have to make me top that up. Karen says Raul Castro needs to come and get his people. Anyone call the Cuban government? That's exactly why I think you're correct. Soon get orders from the UK of what to do, just like how we got during the pandemic. Well, we know sometimes we just not up to speed. And that's why we shouldn't be talking about independence anytime soon, because we don't even know how to handle international situations. So yes, the UK government is probably going to be like, let us take this over for you. Let us resolve this. No, Siobhan, being granted asylum does not make you a Caymanian, not at all. It's a very separate status from an immigration perspective. And this was one of the issues that we were talking about before, is that there has to be some means of them eventually getting to that Caymanian status. And it appears that based on our current laws, there isn't. You just get asylum and you stay in this asylum category forever. And there was also some concerns and issues about once you have asylum, who else does that extend to, including your family members? So without a doubt, our government needs to firm up the immigration laws and the asylum laws in particular and get all of that sorted out. Lily says, I know one thing for sure. That boat captain will never pick up people from sea again. It's sad because, listen, if you're out and you see people in distress, you see people on a boat, you have to, I would think, in keeping with international laws and just good human decency, pick them up. Why wouldn't you pick them up? You know? I don't know. I'm just like here, like, what? Ay, 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 caramba. How do you say hot mess in Spanish? Caliente, que? Ingrid, help me out here. What would be the equivalent of this is a hot mess in Espanol? How do we say it? Ingrid says he has money for data, alcohol, nice clothes, etc., but still want to put Cayman down. Mm-hmm. Yep. We're the worst place in the world. And that is where I have an issue with this whole situation. Yes, Siobhan, we've taken responsibility for them and we want them to come back. Oh, here we go again. D'occasion Blah, 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 blah. I wonder why he doesn't want to talk to you. You've accused them of so many things, including robbery. What things have they been accused of? They haven't been accused of robbery. I know we have some English, some language barriers here, but no one has accused them of robbery. What we have said is there are sources who are saying that that is one line of inquiry that is being investigated because of evidence that have been found. What have we accused them of? Have they not said that we're a communist country? Have they not accused their government of infringing on all of their rights and being the worst government ever, and they do not want to return here? Tell me, what are the accusations against these people? Not once have I asked the authorities to take care of their minimum requests. Are you kidding me? You have clearly never listened to this program. And you have also never listened to the 3 or 4 other times that we have discussed their situation. And had you been listening to the beginning of the program, you would know that I was advocating from day one that the government needed to fix this situation and make sure that the laws were crystal clear. And I have said time and time again that you cannot not allow people into your country and then treat them any kind of way, including them not even understanding what their rights are and what's being extended to them. So you see, this is where people hear and see what they want to hear. This is a perfect example of someone who clearly doesn't follow the programs, doesn't know what he's about, and has a certain narrative of me in this show that is absolutely false. You're misinformed. You're accusing us of being misinformed, but actually you're the person who's misinformed. So Patricia, she lives in America. She says, the mistake I understand from what I'm exposed to in the US professionally and personally is that many Cubans and Latin Americans often make us thinking that most jurisdictions will be like the US. Well, I know they're not talking about the US under Trump, my dear child, because they never woke up under him. All right, folks, we do have Raul who's waiting to join the show. No sound. You should have sound. I haven't done anything. Yep, maybe refresh. Britta says this is like pirates. Why not look for freedom from their own country? Our government needs to be more strict, especially with the immigration system. Grow some balls, says Leroy. And says, let's make this clear. No one on this platform is being convinced to not take their side. They did this to themselves with their ungrateful behavior and insults to our government or people. Yeah. And you know what is so amazing to me is that there will be people who are like, oh, well, you cannot speak up on behalf of your country. Listen, there's a lot of things that I will tolerate, but I will not tolerate disrespect to our country when we have actually, well, by far, we're not the worst country in the world. Calling us communist when you actually do come from a communist country is the height of all insults. Yes, let them leave. Docacion, or whatever your name is, let them leave. Libre, go. Adios. Don't come back. We don't want you here anymore. That's fine. Go somewhere else. Check in with us in 6 months and let us know how it's going. Sasha says they have to take them to the nearest port. It was a good deed. Now they're literally holding up the captain and crew. Yes, this boat is not a free taxi. They have work to do. I'm sure the U.S. heard about this by now. Free them, yes, so the boat can go and finish their job. All right, Raul, are you ready? Senor Raul,
you speak. You? Morning, Sandra. Morning to the listening.
Morning. You're fluent in Spanish, Raul?
I can speak Spanish. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I arrived in Cayman when I was very young, 40-something years ago, and I've tried to keep up with it. I'm not saying I'm completely fluent, but I understand everything and I can defend myself if in Spanish.
Defend yourself in Spanish. Caliente.
Sí, yo puedo hablar. But this is a massive issue, Sandra. I mean,
Oh my God, it's horrible.
Yeah, it is a massive issue.
Jairo says, I was asking him how to say hot mess in Spanish. He's like, caliente mess.
Spanglish, that works.
I know. Memphis says, un desorden caliente.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
English, this is a hot mess. In Spanish, esto es un desastre.
Desastre, like a disaster.
Desastre, like a disaster.
Yeah, disaster.
Yes. Desastre. Ay.
But Sandra, I mean that's just what we have done is actually shown exactly what Cayman normally would do. We are very accommodating to people, and we do our very best to make them feel at home. And we've always done that, and that's one of the beauties of being a Caymanian. I think, we're very open, and sometimes we may do so at our own peril, right? And I think sometimes we have to stand up for our own, and stand up for our own in a very vocal and aggressive manner, right? And I would go to what I feel is, I know I always mention this, but I walked through West Bay yesterday. I had a meeting at 9:00 with a lady who's retired, 80 years old, has applied for NAU assistance for 2 years, have not received it. And, we've got people running for office now who are head of the NAU, who are involved with the children and family unit. And that system is broken, right? And we're not helping our own people. But yet we're talking about, we have done so many good things for our people. We cannot sit back, and these are not statistics, right? These are people that I know by name, Sandra, and I'm sure you know many of these people by name. So it's not, it hits home more so when you see these types of things happening, where we've bent over backwards to accommodate others, and we haven't actually done so for our own people who have actually built the country, who have worked there tirelessly all of their lives, and now they're facing difficulties, and we can't, we're not helping them. So, when you have candidates running for office who are saying, I've written many policies to fix these issues, and the issues are still there. And my view is that success isn't the amount of policies you write. Success is what you've actually done to improve the lives of people as a government. And we've seen many people's lives have been severely impacted recently. It's been exacerbated by COVID, but I don't see really anything that we have done to help our poor people that are suffering. And I walked through on Monday as well, Easter Monday, and there are people that are truly suffering in this country. And it's unconscionable that we'll sit down and just continue to think that we need to create policies. We need to see that, we are working at things, but I don't see that. You are a person that do things, Sandra, and when you see a problem, you get it fixed. And I'm the same way. I can't sit back and go home and just say, okay, I will fix that tomorrow. We need to get it done. And I know the great civil servants that we have want to get stuff done, and we need to, as a politician and an elected politician, hopefully next week, I will make sure that I give the civil servants the tools, the support that's required to make the difference in people's lives, because they also know the vast majority of people in the civil service are Caymanians, so they know people who are suffering as well. They get the calls, they get the questions in the supermarkets, in the lines, and in the supermarkets or in the pharmacies or restaurants. They get the questions, and we can't continue to just kick the can down the road. There's going to come a time when there's going to be some reckoning, and the reckoning, I hope, is perhaps down the road, like around the corner. But I don't want a reckoning to actually happen. I want us to fix these issues before they happen. And I have countless issues. I mean, I went around taking names of people that have had issues that have reported these issues for many years, and nothing has happened. I find it very, very difficult to comprehend. And when we have these types of issues with these international issues, when we have done all humanly things possible to accommodate people, and yet we're not seen to be dealing with them in a fair manner, I just find that's not right,
Yes. Well, we do have sources telling us that the governor has been fully briefed. At this point, it's an operational matter for the RCIPS and CBC, Border Control, and I guess in conjunction with the Marine Unit. Thank you so much, DJ Yo-Yo. He has said, let me just find his comment again. He said, people need to get their information right. It's not Cayman Mall Road, it's the government. CMR is only putting the spotlight on government issues that no one else is brave enough to shine a light on. Marshall says, just go and don't come back. No one is going to miss you. Well, this is the thing. Our government is now telling them they have to come back. So I think that there is some cases at Spanish class today on CMR. I think there's a little bit of a situation here where, again, it's a bit unusual that we have Cayman Kind. Maybe we're starting to take Cayman Kind a little bit too far, but we are telling them you have to come back. Like, I don't even know how we can compel someone who has left the jurisdiction to force them to come back. Like, I'm a little bit, from a legal perspective, unsure of how that works. They're not prisoners, so it's not like they've escaped in that sense of the word. They were refugees. We had them here processing their applications or whatever. If a refugee leaves, they become a refugee for somebody else, I guess, right? And that's the point. They're on a Panamanian vessel.
Yeah.
Anastasia says Cayman violates most of the human rights of these people. What is the excuse to hold them against their will? They have not given them food for 24 hours. They've forbidden access to the bathroom. They've not even given them this government is worse than the communists. Well, here's the thing, Anastasia. This is where I need you to explain something to me. How does the Cayman Islands go on board of a Panamanian vessel and tell them what to do? I don't think that the Cayman Islands government is doing that. I think it's the Panamanians who are like, take them, get them off of our ship. If they're not going to leave, we're going to start utilizing tactics that will make it uncomfortable for them to remain. There is no evidence, and this is why government needs to speak up. Government needs to speak to the people. Alden McLaughlin, are you awake? Head of the Police Commission, Mr. Baines. Is it Baines? Burns. Tell us what's going on. Inform the people of what steps you have taken or not taken so that we can be completely clear. So Madeline reminds us that they're humans just like us. Yes, they are. And they're requesting that they want to leave. And that's why I say allow them to leave. It's very, very simple. There's no reason, in my opinion, why we should be forcing them to come back. Karen says they're on a Panamanian boat. Cayman has no control over the boat. Get your facts straight. They're now on Panamanian property. Docason says, are we racist? Okay. That's ridiculous. I heard they even asked to open the window. Can't say, but if they don't want to come, they're holding Panamanian vessel hostage, literally. Well, I mean, it could very well be that the Panamanian authorities, do we have a Panamanian consulate here? Do you know, Raul? I don't think we do.
Not that I'm aware of. I think the nearest consulate is in Jamaica.
Yeah. So now I'm wondering if the Panamanians are going to start to see this as almost like a piracy type of situation. I mean, this could get very, very dangerous in a split second. And that's why I'm saying we need to de-escalate this situation. Having armed people on board that vessel is not going to help, because I tell you one thing, our authorities have never been inclined to use the armed forces. We have it. We have guns. We have weapons. Raul, do you remember when we had way back when some riots at the prison? The prisoners were running the prison with armed guards standing outside the gate, and they were taking full control. And our armed officers were afraid to do anything, even with, a friggin' machine gun, an AK-47 or whatever.
But
so,
we wouldn't want it to get to that level.
Absolutely not.
What needs to happen?
And my point is, we are so ill prepared for these types of situations as a country and as individual officers. I know that wouldn't end well at all. So that's what I'm saying. De-escalate this right now.
Yeah. But I mean,
I don't even know why they're on board.
Yeah, there's a lot of, the immigrant crisis in Europe, rather. This happens practically every day with nations. If you remember, there was a long standoff between a vessel that actually rescued a number of refugees in the Italian government. That took months to be resolved. Obviously, we don't want this to happen, this to go on for that long, but we can speak to experts and get them involved, get the Panamanian government involved. And, no one wants this to become an international incident whereby you have cameras, having a spotlight on Cayman or the news services that paints us in a negative way. So we have to be careful that it's handled properly, humanely, because international laws are also important for us to follow as well. So we don't want it to become to a point where it becomes, escalate to where there's violence. There's no need for that, I don't think. I think we have to tread this very carefully, but it cannot be kicked down the road either. It needs to be dealt with because it's not going to go away.
What a hot mess.
Yeah. But I guess we also have some local problems that we need to deal with too, right? So that's what I wanted to chat about.
Yes.
How do we fix some of our issues, right? Because the NAU is something that is heavily used now by our Caymanian people who are suffering, right? We need to think of ways in which how to fix that to make it easily accessible to a resident. So one of the solutions that I have is that we actually create I know there are satellite offices, but we can create satellite offices where people can collect their checks, process their check, and have it all electronic, right? And make it so that it's easy, because we have fantastic staff in the NAU and all the other government departments, but sometimes I think they're hamstrung by the lack of technology and focus on getting the customers involved and taking it to the customer and making sure the customer has the ability to communicate effectively, to be able to interact seamlessly. And one way of doing that is maybe just creating a treasury office or where people can make payments in the district. So payments can make and receive payments. So payments for stamp duty, for all that sort of stuff will actually help to move it up further in the districts. What will help the customer service, but it'll also help traffic as well. But the NAU, I mean, Sandra, I know you must have horror stories, because I've seen horror stories in West Bay, and we need to try to fix those issues. And one of the ways in fixing those issues is to be honest about what the problems are and fixing them, and speaking and having a workshop with the people that are actually involved with not only the users, but the people that actually manage the NAU as well, to try to help them to create a much better solution, because they're told, oh, the NAU is a problem, but you may not understand the full issues around it, but we need to engage them to be able to resolve this issue. And I think it needs to be seen in that light, that we have a problem and we have to fix it. We obviously had problems years ago. We had people appointed to run it and it never happened. So we need to know new people to be able to from a policy perspective, on an implementation perspective, to get involved.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's a NAU related question for you, Raul. Just yesterday, as a matter of fact, I had someone reaching out on behalf of a mother of 3 children. She's living in her car, and she's asking me to help her find accommodations through a third party. And I said, well, what is the issue? Has she reached out to NAU? Yes, but NAU tells the person that they need to go out there and find the accommodations. And then they go through the process of, if the landlord is happy to work with them, of applying for NAU for that specific property and so on. How do you fix the fact that NAU clients often cannot find any apartments for rent?
Well, that's where it goes back to my housing issue. I think government, instead of paying $1,500 or whatever it is a month to a landlord, government should create purpose-built housing facility for these people. We're not giving them housing in perpetuity, but they have to be housed. So instead of paying a landlord, government will end up saving, because they will build it from a capital perspective, but they don't have the ongoing maintenance of the facility. That has to happen. So we have affordable housing, but we also need to find where there are people that actually don't have the ability to get a home of their own and have to rent. And if that's happening, where people are sleeping in the cars, which I know it happens, sleeping on the streets, we have to have a solution for that. We can't just leave that in, as you said, go and find your accommodation. There are a lot of people that are not allowing people like that in their apartments or their homes because of the delay in actually getting payments from the NAU. So there is a problem, is that there's a need for housing, the people that have the accommodation are not willing to take these people in because of the delay in payment. So we can fix the delay in payment issue, but the broader issue is we may need to create housing for these people going forward, because if not, where will we put them eventually?
And one of the ways in which government, to be fair to government, has started to try to fix the delay in payments is they do now have set up, as of at least a couple of years ago, the ability to do direct deposits into the bank accounts of landlords.
Yeah.
And, but so many of the landlords themselves, Raul, are shifty as they want to be. And, they're overcharging because they know that there is a market for it. Right. They are overcharging for their properties. Nobody in their right mind would pay what they're charging except the most desperate of people, which tend to be NAU clients. And I'm going to give you an example of a photo that I received just this morning to demonstrate that point. But ironically enough, this person has made contact. And this is what they sent. The kitchen, the bathroom, right? Yeah. You see the sink and the toilet is right there. And that is also hold on, let me not get this right. So this is for $1,200. You have the stove in the bathroom. Understand what I'm telling you?
Yeah.
And they're charging NAU clients, AKA government, $1,200 per month in rent. It's a wooden structure with the stove actually being in the friggin' bathroom.
Wow.
And government is happy to pay $1,200 a month for this because they are so desperate.
Right.
No one on NAU is going out there
and assessing these places.
Yes.
Yeah.
There should be an assessment process. There has to be better control, I think, overall when it comes to rental properties, but specifically when it comes to NAU clients, because that's government that is spending the money.
But Sandra, it's easy in my view. You know the landlords that actually are renting to people. You can create a database of the landlords, how many units they have available, what is the condition of it, right? It's a very easy process. So if someone comes to you and says, oh, I'm looking for accommodation in West Bay, the NAU or in East End, oh, these are the available accommodation. This is the cost, this is the condition. But we have to have some way of actually regulating this as well. There's no way we should be paying $1,200 for something that is not fit for purpose, don't pass code. There's so many violations in that picture, and I'm not an expert at the planning laws, but the fact is that it's inhumane, in my view, to be able to put somebody into something like that. And this is the other thing that I'm going to win elected. There need to be tenant laws or tenant protection laws in Cayman. That has to happen, right? We have too many of these things happening where the tenant has no recourse, right? And basically is at the mercy of the landlord. And what we do is then we create a system that people are paying exorbitant rents, not getting the rights that they deserve. And we're forced to do that because there are no other alternatives. But everyone has to get involved. The NAU, in my view, should have a database of all available accommodation, what is the position of the landlord, and grade it as well. So you have a grade A, grade B, grade C type of accommodation, and that should then have a cost attached to it. You can't be paying for a grade A accommodation, a grade C accommodation, paying grade A prices, right? If it isn't up to scratch. So those are the types of things that I think has to happen. And once elected, those are things that we can fix easily because you are getting the information. So if the information is out there, you could easily gather the information, as you said, by going and doing a site survey and understanding the accommodation and understanding the landlord's views on certain things. But that then could create enforcement as well, because if the landlord accommodation isn't up to scratch, then there are other things that needs to be considered. But we have to fix it because we cannot, as a country, what we're doing is putting our people further into poverty, Sandra. And that's what you have to be, I find that difficult to comprehend when we have persons that have been in government, that were civil servants, that were directly involved with this, that this was their responsibility. I mean, the person that's running in West Bay South, this was his responsibility to fix these issues, and they still exist. I find it's very difficult for us to be able to deal with this, Sandra, but it can be dealt with. And I think your program highlights some of the difficulties, but we now need to get to a point where we're actually fixing these issues, not only highlighting the problems, because it's not going to go away for the person living in a condition like that and having to pay $1,200. That is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. There's no way it should be happening.
Wow. Howard says, wow. Same
Yes.
sentiment as me.
That's you. Yeah.
Just says it's not only that they can't find a place, it's also the problem of not being able to get a decent place, which is the prescribed amount because rent is so expensive. But listen to me, for $1,200, you shouldn't have the stove in the bathroom. I'm sorry, but $1,200 might get you a lot of space. But my God, to have to cook in your own bathroom is just unsanitary and disgusting. And I don't even know how that got approved from planning. That's a whole other question.
Right. I'm sure it wasn't approved.
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Evelyn says she can't even believe it.
Yeah. No, it's unbelievable. But I also, Sandra, wanted to chat about I'm having a family fun day on Saturday with meet and greet on Miramoli Road. Miramoli Road is I don't know if you know it, but it's an amazing part of West Bay South. It's any person that lived any time in West Bay would have spent a lot of time there on the beach. It's unfettered access to the beaches. You can go and swim wherever you like. It's the last point of 7 Mile Beach into West Bay, and that's something that we must protect. We must protect at all cost, and that's part of our heritage. And I wanted to highlight that part of West Bay South because it is a unique place. And we want to have, just informal meeting. You can come and meet me, talk, bring their kids. There'll be face painting, stuff like that. So a very fun family event on Saturday from 4 to 7. But the main reason for that is to highlight how beautiful that part of the beach is and why it's important for us to protect beach access like that and others, right? Because that's part of our heritage, and we need to be able to feel proud of that. But I spent many days during my summer holidays, running seas out there, swimming. I would challenge any of the members of parliament or prospective members of parliament. I've spent more time on the beach in the last 10 years than most of them because I love the beach. I go snorkeling, I go, so my focus is making sure the environment remains the way it is, right? Because it is beautiful. It is something that I've enjoyed. And that's why I wanted to bring a highlight to that particular. I don't know if you've been down Miramoli Road recently, Sandra, but it is.
Yes, unfortunately, I was involved in a protest there. I think it was December of 2019.
Okay, and that's actually where you and I are going to do our interview, because I wanted to, show a part of where, when I was younger, this is where I hang out during the summer and in the afternoons on Friday. That's where, because the bus, when we took the bus, it actually stopped right on Norris Point Road and Town Hall Crescent. So we've spent a lot of time in that area, and I wanted to have my part of my interview there and the other part, well, obviously at home. But I wanted you to be there for that. Tomorrow, I guess we're doing it tomorrow at noon, right? So you'll be able to see the area, and also to be able to, promote more of the family fun day, because it is a fantastic place.
All right, folks. Raul, thank you so much. Obviously,
as always,
tumultuous times the world over, and Cayman is certainly no exception to having to deal with some of these issues.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Just give us the details again of your family fun day.
It's on Saturday, and we'd like people to start showing up from 4 to 7, and we'll have face painting stuff for kids to occupy themselves while their parents sit and talk with me in an informal way. But it's a very nice setting, fantastic place to view the ocean, the sunset, and it's something that I want to highlight of the beauty of West Bay South. That is a fantastic place that must be preserved, and that we have to work as a country, as a nation, to preserve those types of areas. So we have to preserve the mangroves, but there are other areas as well where we have to also preserve, which is the access to the beaches. And that beach is not, there isn't any building on the other side. You really sit on the wall and you go straight into the beach. So it actually is a model that we have to preserve. So it's this Saturday. We'd like people to start coming at 4 to 7. Show up there. If you need transportation, you can call 526-0004, or you will get more information on my Facebook or Instagram page, or you can reach out to me via direct message, or someone on my committee will be able to give you more information as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Raul, have a good one.
All right,
yes,
Sandra,
one more week, folks. We got one more week.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. This time next week, we're going to be underway with our live stream. Do not forget, CMR got you covered.
And now, get ready for a full day of election coverage, including historical analysis, candidate bios, polling station coverage, and much more. 8 commentators covering over 50 years. Audience participation makes it your most interactive resource on Election Day. Don't miss it.
There's 3 major things that has to be addressed in the Cayman Islands: cost of living, diversifying the economy, and self-sufficiency. And when I talk about self-sufficiency, I'm talking about our ability, our capacity to be able to take care of ourselves. Let's focus on agriculture, where all of us want to make sure that we're hoping for the best. We always have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Just imagine for a second if a hurricane was to come and sit between here and Florida, just like Hurricane Mitch did in 1998 in Honduras. What would happen? I would bet you the shelves would be empty, or at the minimum, very much depleted. That in itself should be able to identify to us that there is a major problem in terms of our capacity to feed ourselves here in the Cayman Islands. We have to solve that problem. And that's why if and when elected, I'm going to head out east and see if we can free up a lot of this locked land, open it up for opportunities for agriculture as well as other types of development. And when it comes to farming, whether it be livestock or plant life, I believe we can look beyond the borders of the Cayman Islands. What's preventing us from going to countries like Jamaica or to Honduras and actually owning or buying farms that are already functioning and operating and even exporting to other countries, making it Cayman Islands property? I believe that that's absolutely possible. In addition to that, creating opportunities for our local investors to be able to invest into those companies and other persons through their pension accounts as well. To me, the opportunities are tremendous, and that's my vision.
My name is Blemo Ross. I've been in this area for 40 odd years. They would have called me in the past the governor of Windsor Park, so I know everybody. So it's my greatest pleasure today to endorse Mr. Alric Lindsay for our next representative in Parliament and for the Cayman Island. When you go to make your X on the 14th of April, remember a person will be there that will be looking out for you. Your vote counts. That X you make against Mr. Lindsay's name will definitely help these islands. And for my last say, don't forget, he is a hard-working person, very truthful and honest, not telling anybody anything that he can't do. He will tell you, I will try and I will do my best. And I get hold of him, he will do it. So thanks again for listening. Make your X, put it the right way. Mr. Alric Lindsay is the person for these islands.
But the first thing I want to say to those of you from Red Bay and Prospect who are asking me when are we going to have a meeting in Prospect and Red Bay, soon come. Me and Austin will be there. It is going to be the biggest meeting that we have ever had when Austin and I come to town. So do not worry. Do not be faint of heart. We will be there in due course.
What a hot mess, folks. Soon come. That's the message for you. Soon come. And this is what, if you support certain candidates, what you're going to be getting.
It is citizens like you that go wisely to the polls to make one of the hardest choices each and every 4 years. This time, based on what the other options are, it should be fairly easy. And it will be wise to vote for the Alliance members to ensure that continued health protocols are left in place and not just thrown through the side by those that are seeking office, the wolves in sheep's clothing. We are very well off as a financial jurisdiction, and we need to ensure that the many Caymanians who are suffering are looked into and addressed by this administration. It is your collective and moral conscience that decides who your next member of parliament is going to be. That candidate must be willing to work with the government if he or she wants things done for you and your family in the constituencies that you come from. If they clearly cannot do that, ladies and gentlemen, they clearly do not have you at heart.
Vote wisely. All right, y'all. What a hot mess. Did you guys, by the way, see this one? Hold on a second now. This one was kind of interesting. Give me 1 second. Kind of uploading something else here, and it's taken a while. Big shout out to our friends over at Miracle Brokers.
Miracle Brokers International is Cayman's premier source for all your packing, moving, and logistics needs. Whether it's moving a baby grand piano for a concert or moving halfway around the world, we have you covered with our team of local and international experts. MBI has over 30 years of industry experience and are able to get the job done for you right the first time. Contact us today for all your packing, moving, shipping, and logistics needs at 949-5989 or email info@miraclebrokers.com.
In our canvassing, we're finding an alarming number of older persons and retirees who cannot access or afford health insurance. This is another serious quality of life issue. Cynical is overwhelmed because it has become the dumping ground for everyone who cannot be covered by insurance elsewhere. As a result, it has to be heavily subsidized by the government. In my opinion, we need to move to a system of national insurance and spread the risk among more people so that our most at-risk folk can be given adequate care in their golden years. Many of these people have worked for government and contributed greatly to this country over the course of their lives. Now, as they retire with meager pensions or none at all, they have to suffer indignities along with inadequate health care, and they cannot access the medicines and preventative care that they need. This is a dire situation and one that concerns me greatly as the former minister who spearheaded the introduction of the older persons policy and also led the Ministry of Community Affairs. Our older persons need us and they need proper care. It is time for government to have a serious discussion with our current health insurance providers and find a solution to this national crisis.
Thank you so much. So I understand that Javier is live again. Give us 1 second. We understand also that he's communicating with the authorities in Cayman. So he's on the phone. Hold on.
Señor Gustavo, ¿de quién viene la decisión de cerrar la puerta y dejar a estos jóvenes aquí deshidratándose y muriéndose de hambre, sin alimentos y sin asistencia médica? Dé el nombre, por favor. El nombre, por favor. Señor Gustavo, si usted no me da el nombre, le voy a colgar el teléfono. La ley marítima la tengo yo en mis manos ahora mismo y tengo derecho a pedir un asilo político y tengo derecho también a no arribar a Cayman Island porque no me siento seguro. Tengo las leyes aquí y si usted quiere debatir conmigo puede ver ahora mismo las leyes, yo las tengo aquí y debatimos las leyes internacionales marítimas que yo las tengo aquí a las manos ahora mismo, señor Gustavo. Ya deje de tratar de jugar con mi mentalidad, que no somos personas, no somos...
Okay, we're gonna see if he comes back. It says it's been paused. I'm sure the internet quality is not the best in the world. Let's see what happens. So we understand that he is actually on the phone with the US, the US, with the Cayman.
¿Cuál es la manera? No hay ninguna manera. Yo no quiero virar a Cayman Island. Y vaya, yo lo voy a poner.
He's on the phone with both Cayman authorities and the ship.
Personas cubanos que se encuentran aquí. ¿Ustedes quieren retornar a Cayman Island?
No vamos a negociar nada aquí.
Ya está dicho, no queremos retornar. ¿Por qué ustedes no quieren obligar a retornar a Cayman Island? No nos sentimos seguros en Cayman Island.
Nos quieren matar.
No nos sentimos seguros en Cayman Island y no vamos a negociar. Y lo que le pasa a estas personas que están aquí, ustedes son los responsables, señores. Ustedes están jugando con la vida de las personas. Están violando leyes internacionales.
La vamos a publicar también para que la vean que están violando.
Y lo saben.
Ustedes están violando leyes internacionales.
Señor Gustavo, usted va a ser el primero que va a caer.
Para que caiga el intermediario, que sí va a ser intermediario.
Señor Gustavo, un momento. Este señor dice que cada persona que está aquí tiene potestad de decir su opinión. Usted, don Pérez, un momento, por favor. Yo voy a hablar por mí. Yo, Javier Jovarona, no estoy de acuerdo a retornar a Islas Caimán.
Yo soy Antonio Páez y yo a Islas Caimán no voy a regresar. Aparte de
es en vivo, porque no están mirando.
Están violando derechos internacionales y vamos a empezar a publicar.
Exacto. Aló. Aló. Colgó, familia. Colgó. El negociador asesino del gobierno colgó. El negociador asesino del gobierno de Caimán colgó. Quiere hablar por teléfono. Él lo que quiere es que nosotros retornemos a Islas Caimán y nosotros no vamos a retornar a Islas Caimán porque no nos sentimos seguros en Islas Caimán. Es la realidad, señores. Es la realidad, no nos sentimos seguros en Islas Caimán. ¿Cuál es el afán de ellos que nosotros regresemos a Islas Caimán? Si ellos toda una vida lo que han querido es que nosotros no vayamos. ¿Cuántos miles de... Dígame, señora. Miles de cubanos, ellos no quieren cubanos en Isla Caimán, ¿por qué no quieren a nosotros ahí? ¿Cuál es el interés? ¿Cuál es el interés de ellos de tenernos ahí? Nosotros no queremos. No queremos ir ahí, no nos sentimos seguros en Isla Caimán. No queremos, si retornamos a Isla Caimán no nos vamos a sentir seguros, señores. Este pedacito aquí es nuestra única esperanza de vida, es el pedacito aquí. Si salimos de este cuarto, de aquí a este cuarto, para allá para Isla Caimán, las represalias van a ser grandes contra este grupo de jóvenes que están aquí. Y contra esa niña que está sufriendo, que esa niña es ciudadana de esa isla.
Pero ¿cuál es el afán que tienen ellos? ¿Cuál es el afán que tienen? De que uno vaya a Islas Caimán si cuando estás ahí no te quieren dar los papeles, no te quieren dar refugio. ¿Para qué? No queremos.
Yo no quiero nada, yo no quiero ningún tipo de... Yo no quiero ningún tipo de...
Nosotros no queremos ningún asilo.
Señor Gustavo, usted que es negociador de aquí de Isla Caimán, sabemos quién es usted ya, ¿ok? Ya nosotros sabemos todo de usted.
Ya, señores, es así. Nosotros no queremos negociar con ellos, nosotros sabemos el tipo de calaña que son ellos y lo mentirosos que son ellos. Ellos dicen que quieren prestar asistencia médica, que quieren dar alimentación, agua, pero no abren esta puerta. Ellos no quieren abrir la puerta, no quieren abrirla, nos tienen encerrados aquí. Llevamos un día, llegamos aquí secuestrados en contra de nuestra voluntad, porque ellos no quieren abrir esa puerta para que entre ventilación. No quieren, sí, vamos a abrir un día, vamos a 2 días, sin agua, sin alimentos, sin nada, porque el gobierno está encaprichado y quiere que vayamos para Caimán. No queremos ir para Caimán, nosotros queremos ir para Caimán. Y yo sé que usted también va a oír las directas mías, no vamos a ir para Caimán. No queremos, y como único van a hacer es que usen la fuerza, y si usan la fuerza, el mundo entero va a ver ustedes como ustedes entran aquí y atropellan a todo este grupo de jóvenes, personas pacíficas. Personas pacíficas, familia. Señores, estamos aquí, mire, señores, deshidratándonos con todos estos bombillos puestos arriba de nosotros aquí con tremendo calor. Mira donde estamos orinando, mira. Mira donde estamos orinando, mira. Es inhumano lo que estamos haciendo, lo que están haciendo con nosotros, señores. Inhumano, porque ellos están empeñados, nosotros tenemos que retornar a Caimán. Yo no quiero retornar a Caimán, yo tengo libertad de movimiento, yo puedo moverme el mundo entero. Yo no tengo que estar obligado ahí en esa dictadura de gobierno que tienen ustedes ahí. No, yo ya llevo 4 años sufriendo ahí. Mi esposa lleva 3 años conmigo sufriendo también en esa dictadura. Llevo clamando, implorando, por favor, que se me respete mi derecho como refugiado político. Por favor, déjenme tener una familia. Por favor, déjenme ser feliz. Por favor, déjenme reinsertarme a la sociedad de Caimán. Por favor, estoy tratando de aprender el idioma. Por favor, estoy trabajando. Por favor, soy un buen ciudadano. Por favor, dejen de maltratarme. Dejen de pisotearme. Y ustedes no me escuchan, señor. Ahora, ¿cuál es el interés de ustedes de escucharme que yo voy para Caimán? ¿Cuál es el afán que tienen ustedes para que yo no voy a retornar a Cayman Island? No quiero. Quédense con su isla. Quédense con su isla. Quédense con su isla. Que se queden con su isla. Yo en lo personal, yo Javier Jo Barona, yo en lo personal voy a hablar por mí. Ni siquiera voy a hablar por mi esposa, voy a hablar por mí. Yo en lo personal no quiero retornar. ¿Usted quiere retornar? Nadie quiere retornar, entonces no sigan presionando. Nadie quiere retornar. Es cero diálogo con los mentirosos. Cero diálogo. Lo que se están comportando y tirando es lo que están haciendo con esta actitud que están tomando ustedes. Mira, con estas decisiones.
Ustedes no están viendo todo lo que está pasando.
Okay, folks. What a hot mess.
No queremos diálogo con asesinos. Ustedes son unos asesinos porque están matando a estas personas aquí poco a poco, lentamente, aquí, sin agua, sin alimento, sin nada. Aquí no tienen trancados, señores. Miren, nosotros tenemos la puerta cerrada. Son ellos los que tienen la puerta cerrada del lado de allá. Sin alimento, sin agua y nada. Todo el mundo deshidratado. Aquí una niña.
Nos están alejando de la cobertura.
¿Y nos están alejando?
Para que nadie se dé cuenta de lo que estamos pasando.
Ellos quieren a toda costa tratarnos a la fuerza y que sacarnos así.
Si
No.
nos quedamos sin comunicación, es por eso.
Si usan la fuerza contra estas personas que están aquí, nosotros vamos a responder. No vamos a permitir que nadie venga a agredirnos porque nosotros somos personas pacíficas.
Cobertura para poder atacarlo y no firmarlo.
No vamos a permitir que el gobierno de la Caimán tome represalia con estos jóvenes aquí. Somos personas pacíficas, nosotros no hemos hecho nada. Nosotros no hemos matado a nadie, no hemos asesinado a nadie, no hemos hecho nada. Somos personas trabajadoras. Trabajadoras. Yo una vez lo que he querido es reinsertarme a esa sociedad de Caimán y el gobierno no me ha dejado. No me ha dejado. Tener una familia, es ilógico lo que están haciendo conmigo, es ilógico lo que están haciendo mi familia. Es ilógico. Tuve que tomar la decisión de irme de la isla, de emigrar, como mismo dice de Cuba, porque ustedes me han cerrado puertas donde quiera que he llegado. Me han cerrado puertas. Han incentivado, han puesto personas en redes sociales, incentivado el odio contra mi persona. Y incentivado el odio contra mi familia, hablando de estupideces y difamando una pila de noticias que son mentiras. Y tildeando a todos estos cubanos aquí de malas personas como no lo somos gente que trabajadora. Pusieron noticias en redes sociales diciendo que nosotros habíamos robado una joyería, como eso es mentira. Entonces, ¿qué van a dialogar ahora? No voy a hablar con más nadie. Ellos siguen hablando, pero no abren la puerta, señores. No quieren abrir la puerta esa. Ellos no quieren abrir la puerta. No quieren abrir la puerta.
Está viendo, no me responde más teléfono.
Estamos débiles, señores. Débiles, sin alimentos, sin agua, sin nada.
Guarda energía. Tú no tienes comida ni agua ni nada. Guarda energía.
Ya vamos para 2 días aquí sin alimentos. 2 días en el mar, deshidratados. Y aquí no, en vez de darnos asistencia médica, estos señores lo que han hecho es coger y trancarnos aquí en este lugar aquí y traernos aquí como si fuéramos delincuentes. Porque para terminar, ¿usted cree que no mire lo que están haciendo aquí con nosotros? ¿Ustedes creen que de verdad nosotros vamos a estar seguros si nosotros vamos a Cayman Island? Si miren lo que están haciendo con nosotros aquí, si vamos a Cayman Island, ¿qué nos pueden hacer allá? No vamos a retornar a Cayman Island. No queremos, estamos renunciamos a todo el derecho que usted no quiera dar en Cayman Island. No lo queremos. Pónganse su derecho. Quédense con su isla. Ya, quédense con su isla. Que se quede con su isla. No ofenda la isla, loco. No hay necesidad de ofender la isla. La isla no tiene la culpa. Es el gobierno el que tiene la culpa. No hay necesidad de ofender ni a los pobladores de la isla ni a la isla. La isla es una bella isla y las personas que viven ahí son bellas personas igual. Es el gobierno. Es el gobierno. Es el gobierno. La isla es una bella isla. Me encanta la isla. Caimán es bellísima. Las personas que viven ahí son bellas. La cultura es bella. Pero el gobierno no sirve, no funciona. No para nosotros que somos emigrantes.
Ni para ellos mismos funciona. Mira ella.
Mira, mi hija es ciudadana de esa isla. Ciudadana de esa isla. Y mira cómo la tratan, señores. Mira cómo la tratan. Una niña que es ciudadana ahí, nacida ahí, con pasaporte de ahí todo. Mira cómo la tratan. ¿Ustedes creen que yo puedo dialogar con alguien que sabe que hay niños aquí, que hay mujeres aquí? No puedo dialogar con nadie así, señores. No puedo dialogar. No voy a dialogar. No quiero diálogo. No quiero retornar allá a Caimán. Y los días que me tengan aquí, lo que les pasa aquí a las personas, ellos son los responsables de eso. Compartan estos videos, señores. Compartan los videos. Compartan para que llegue esto, para que las noticias internacionales hagan justicia.
De favor. Se los estamos pidiendo de favor.
Que nos socorran, por favor.
Nos hubieran dejado en mal morirnos de morirnos aquí como nos estamos muriendo.
Hagan justicia con lo que está. Justicia con lo que está haciendo el gobierno de Caimán contra estas personas aquí, seres humanos. Seres humanos que fuimos encontrados en el mar, que salimos huyendo de esa isla por toda la injusticia que está haciendo ese gobierno contra estas personas, señores. No vamos a retornar, no queremos diálogo con asesinos. No queremos diálogo con asesinos que tienen personas aquí muriendo lentamente aquí. No vamos a dialogar con asesinos, no queremos dialogar con asesinos, señores. Es así como se están comportando y es así como lo estoy catalogando, porque es así como el mundo lo está mirando. Es así como el mundo lo está mirando. Mire, señores. Personas aquí trancadas en un cuarto sin alimentos, sin agua y sin nada, y están todos allá adentro tomando gaseadas, tomando refrescos, fumando sus cigarros. Y aquí estas personas aquí muriendo de hambre. Y ellos están todos allá afuera porque están tratando de retornar a Islas Caimán y nosotros no vamos a retornar a Islas Caimán. No queremos diálogo con el gobierno. No vamos a retornar a Islas Caimán. Yo no voy a retornar y no sé si yo quiero retornar.
Nadie va a retornar.
Nadie quiere retornar, señores. Compartan. No voy a dialogar con asesinos. No voy a dialogar con un gobierno asesino. No voy a dialogar con personas que tienen seres humanos aquí muriendo lentamente. Miren. Mujeres. Mi esposa que es asmática. Mi niña. Jóvenes aquí que somos inocentes. No hemos cometido ningún delito. No hemos matado a nadie. No hemos hecho nada. No hemos hecho nada. Y quiero que vean.
No hemos cogido sus leyes.
No respetan, no, ellos piensan que son el centro del mundo. El gobierno de Caimán piensa que es el centro del mundo. Y es donde se equivocan ellos. Es donde ellos se equivocan. Ellos no pueden jugar con la vida de los seres humanos. Eso es una cosa absurda lo que están haciendo. No pueden jugar con la vida de los seres humanos lo que están haciendo.
Bueno, ya, ahorita todo. Ya, córtalo. Ya, que tú no tienes ni agua ni nada aquí.
Compartan los videos, familia, para que se acabe esta injusticia. Compartan los videos, compartan los videos, para que esto llegue a medios internacionales, llegue a noticias internacionales. Alguien haga justicia con este grupo de cubanos que está aquí, miren lo que están haciendo, que nos están asesinando poco a poco. Esto es un llamado de auxilio internacional, señores, para que se haga justicia con estos cubanos. Miren, nos están asesinando poco a poco ese gobierno ahí, nos tienen aquí tirados sin agua, sin alimentos. A ver qué es lo que opinan los medios. Acerca de esto que están haciendo aquí. ¿Cuál es la justificación que tiene para negarle agua y alimentos a estas personas que están aquí? Para negar asistencia médica a estas personas que están aquí, personas que tienen problemas. Miren, señores, ese hombre poniéndose una crema en el pie, miren. Porque tiene su pie con una lifangita, mírenlo ahí. No, señores. Voy a seguir pasando videos, estén pendientes ahí. Voy a seguir pasando videos.
Okay, folks. We have blocked Jim. Jim, we cannot support, advocate violence against anyone in this program. Stating that they should be shot is not something that we are going to advocate. So unfortunately, your comments have caused you to be blocked. Everything we do in life, folks, has consequences. It's something that we say in this program all the time to everyone. The young, the old, Caymanians, expats, whatever. Consequences. Again, to me, this is an easy solution. Why the Cayman Islands is trying to bring them back needs to be explained to the people. And if there's no real legitimate reason for bringing them back, then I say 1,000% to let them go. They are on a Panamanian vessel. We need to get off of that vessel, withdraw our whatever reinforcement that we have sent. Tell the Panamanian vessel to get out of her 12 miles and be on your way. Do whatever you want with them. That's not going to be our business. So they are happy to take that chance. So why are we making it our concern? Thank you for the translation, Madeline. Senia says the Cayman government helped them, giving them papers, and now the Cayman government, bad, stupid, threw them to the sharks. Maybe sharks eat them. I doubt it. Ay. It's a hot mess. What did we say? Caliente mess? Or whatever. Oh my God. Mary says, you see how disgusting and ungrateful they are. We now have them starving and kidnapped. Ever wonder why they're a communist country? The government there knows what they're dealing with. I think we, the people, should not feel safe because of the aggression. I'm hearing it's quite scary, to be honest. What a set of drama queens. Their tongues don't get tired. I really hope that they return to Cuba, as I wouldn't wish any other country to have to deal with them. You all just want to be here and we don't need, and then it got cut off. Trenwick says this is better than Ever Given. What's Ever Given? So a lot of people do have the sense that they're being ungrateful. Eric, I agree with you. The government needs to have some sort of press statement today. Have a press briefing, call it GIS, arrange yourselves, and let the people know why we are so hell-bent on returning them. Dallas is the captain on the boat, probably just wants them to leave. I'm sure he does. They've now lost going into 2 days worth of precious time. And, they're saying that, okay, they will retaliate, I guess, if the government doesn't let them do what they want. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure what that means. So yes, we did hear the phone ringing in the background. Somebody says that the ship is calling them and they won't answer it. He was demanding to have somebody's name who ordered something. And I mean, I don't know that when you're in a situation like that you get to demand to have names and all this information. This isn't exactly a normal run-of-the-mill situation that they're under. So they seem to really think that they can make demands on that ship. And somehow I think the Panamanians are going to have to handle this very differently. In the final analysis, folks, this isn't our problem any longer. They're on a Panamanian vessel. We need to wish them good luck. Goodbye. I don't know who's paying for that tanker's bill, but it shouldn't be us. We need to encourage the tanker to leave. Our vessels need to pull back, come off the ship, and allow those people to leave and do what they got to do. They have made it abundantly clear that they do not want to be here. What are you going to do? How are you going to force them to remain in this jurisdiction against their will? What is the Cayman Island government's plan? Let us know, because this just doesn't seem to be making any sense. Someone else said about the ones that escaped before. I did get a message about that. And someone did say to me that they are lying. This is another Spanish person. The first batch that left in November, 3 are free in Mexico, 2 brothers, Payne and Pedro, and another one living elsewhere. Their family sent money to get them out, and the other 11 are still in prison, and yet we treat them so bad. So the ones that got to Mexico are, according to our sources, in a Mexican jail, except for 3 whose family members were able to pay money to get them out. Listen, I don't even care. They want to go sit in a Mexican jail? Fantastic. Mexico's a beautiful country. I'm sure they're going to treat them way better than us. We only going to give you chicken and oxtail and whatever. Go to Mexico. They're going to give you enchiladas and you have a fiesta every Friday. They're going to give you margaritas in the house. Listen, I'm being facetious, but at this point, I don't even care. Panama don't need to put no pressure on us. That's your vessel. Do what you want with them. Take them to another port. Charles says, sadly, if this is a group of Caymanians, the government wouldn't be fighting for them. Let them go. All right, folks. What did someone say earlier? Vete? That's all I got for you. You guys have a beautiful day. I'm out. One final message.
Thank you, Bishop Morris. Good morning, church. It is indeed a privilege and an honor for me to be here to worship with you today. I also want to acknowledge my colleague, Mr. Kenneth Bryan from Georgetown Central. I also want to bring greetings from the Premier and the Ministers of Government and all of my colleagues that are actually candidates in this coming election. I am reaching out to this church and to all churches in the Cayman Islands to please hold us up in prayer on April the 14th. This is a crucial time for this country, and we have to be very cognizant and mindful of this day and how we place our X in that ballot paper. So all I'm asking is for your prayers for us, all candidates, and for our families in the coming days ahead, and in particular on April the 14th. Thank you, church.
Thank you so much, Lady Barbara. We certainly will be praying for you, your colleagues, and please share with the Premier for me that there was a seat here for him.
Amen, Pastor. Amen. There's a seat for Alden. Alden, find that seat. We hear you could do with it.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.